I'll never forget the sound of paper tearing. My father held my wedding invitation between his fingers like it was contaminated. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, lips pursed in that expression I'd spent 35 years trying to fix. "A handyman, Elena." My father's voice dripped with disgust. "At your age, this is the best you could do." I watched him rip the invitation in half, then quarters, then confetti. My mother live-streamed the whole thing, called my wedding trash, called my fiancé Daniel nobody, threw the pieces in the garbage while thousands watched online. I was the joke of their social circle, the eldest daughter who couldn't marry right, the failure compared to my perfect younger sister who'd married a hedge fund manager. They had no idea what was coming, because while they were busy tearing up paper and destroying my reputation, Daniel and I were building something they couldn't tear down, a $50 million eco-luxury resort in the Maldives. 6 months later, when our wedding went viral for entirely different reasons, broadcast live from our own private island paradise to millions of viewers worldwide, my mother sent a text I'll treasure forever. "Can we come now?" I reacted with a laughing emoji, then typed 3 words that made headlines, "No seats left." But that's not even the most shocking part of this story. What my parents didn't know, what nobody knew until it was too late, would destroy their perfect family image forever. The secret my mother had been hiding. The truth about my perfect sister's marriage, and the anonymous $2 million investor who saved our dream. This is the story of how I went from family embarrassment to island owner. And trust me, you won't believe how this ends. My name is Elena Walsh. I'm 35 years old, and for the last decade, I've built a modest but respectable career as a freelance graphic designer. I work from my small apartment in the city creating brand identities for startups and local businesses. Nothing glamorous, but it's mine. I've learned to find pride in work that lets me sleep at night, even if it never impressed the people who raised me. The drive to my parents' estate always makes my stomach knot. The long driveway lined with manicured hedges, the fountain in the circular drive, the colonial mansion that screams old money. Even though my parents came from nothing, it's all designed to remind visitors of their place in the hierarchy. Today, I'm gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles have gone white. In my purse sits a cream-colored envelope with Daniel's and my names written in elegant script. Our wedding invitation. I'd debated for weeks whether to deliver it in person or just mail it. Some foolish part of me thought that at 35, after years of supporting myself, after proving I could build a life without their money or approval, maybe things would be different. I was wrong. My mother, Margaret, answers the door in tennis whites. Her blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail that stretches her face into permanent surprise. She doesn't hug me. She never does. "Elena," she says, her tone flat. "You should have called first. Your father and I have a club lunch in an hour." "This won't take long," I say, following her into the marble foyer where family portraits line the walls. There's one from Sophia's wedding last year, my younger sister radiant in a $30,000 gown, her hedge fund manager husband beaming beside her. I'm not in that photo. I was invited to the wedding, of course, but relegated to a table in the back with distant cousins. My parents' friends didn't need to see the disappointing eldest daughter. My father, Robert, emerges from his study still in his golf clothes. At 62, he's maintained the physique and bearing of a man who believes his success makes him untouchable. He sees me, and his expression sours. "Elena, to what do we owe this unexpected visit?" I pull out the invitation and hold it toward him. "Daniel and I are getting married. I wanted you to have this personally." My mother takes it from my hand, turning it over with the kind of distaste usually reserved for junk mail. "Daniel," she repeats. "The handyman." "He's a contractor," I correct, though I know it doesn't matter to them. "He runs his own restoration business. He's incredibly talented." My father laughs, a short, bitter sound. "At least Sophia had the sense to marry up, not down. A hedge fund manager from a good family. That's how you do it right." The comparison lands exactly where he intended. It always comes back to Sophia. Beautiful, younger, compliant Sophia, who did everything our parents wanted. who married the right man at the right age with the right pedigree, who gave them a wedding they could brag about at the country club. I love him, I say quietly, hating how small my voice sounds. Love. My mother practically spits the word. She opens the invitation, scanning the details with narrowed eyes. A beach ceremony? How? Casual. And who's paying for this? We are. Daniel and I are paying for everything ourselves. My father snatches the invitation from my mother's hands. I watch his face redden as he reads, his jaw clenching. This is pathetic, Elena. Pathetic. You're 35 years old. This is your last chance at marriage, and you're throwing it away on a man with no degree, no family connections, no future. A nobody handyman who fixes other people's houses because he can't afford his own. The words are designed to wound, and they do. But I've heard variations of this speech my entire life. Nothing I've ever done has been good enough. Not my career, not my choices, not me. We wanted you there. I say, though I'm not sure why I'm still trying. It would mean... My father tears the invitation in half. The sound is violent in the quiet foyer. He tears it again and again. Confetti pieces of our names, our date, our carefully chosen words flutter to the marble floor. You want us at this joke of a wedding? He throws the pieces at my feet. Consider this our RSVP. My mother pulls out her phone. I see her open Instagram Live. The little red recording light appears. My eldest daughter is 35 and marrying a handyman, she says into the camera, her voice dripping with performative disappointment. Where did I go wrong? Please, someone tell me. After we gave Sophia such a beautiful wedding to a wonderful man, Elena brings us this garbage. She angles the camera toward the torn invitation on the floor, toward me standing there like a statue. You're 35, Elena, she adds, looking directly at me now while thousands of her followers watch. This is your last chance, and you're throwing it away on him. I should scream. I should cry. I should defend Daniel, defend us, defend the life we're building. Instead, I kneel down and carefully collect every piece of torn paper. My hands are steady. My face is dry. I place each fragment in my purse like they're precious, because they're evidence of exactly who these people are. I stand, meet my mother's camera with a level gaze, and walk out without a word. In my car, I don't start the engine right away. I pull out the torn pieces and begin taping them back together on the passenger seat. Each strip of tape is a promise I'm making to myself. My hands don't shake. My tears don't fall. When the invitation is whole again, scarred but intact, I whisper to myself, to the universe, you'll watch. Both of you will watch. Then I drive away from that house for what I don't yet know will be the last time. The taped invitation sits on my coffee table, a fragile monument to rejection. I stare at it from my couch, unable to look away, unable to think about anything except the question that's haunted me since childhood. When did they decide I wasn't enough? I close my eyes, and I'm 8 years old again, standing in my father's study doorway. He's at his desk, surrounded by files and ledgers, and I've brought him the papers he asked me to organize. I'd spent an hour putting them in alphabetical order, so careful, so eager to help. I hold them out like an offering. He glances up, but his eyes slide past me to the baby monitor on his desk, where 2-year-old Sophia is sleeping. Just put them on the side table, Elena. I need to be ready when your sister wakes up. I set the files down exactly where he told me, perfectly aligned with the table's edge, and back out of the room. He never looked at them. I checked later. The memories come faster now, each one a small cut that never quite healed. I'm 16, standing on a high school auditorium stage in a dress I bought with babysitting money. They're announcing the regional art scholarship winners, and when they call my name, I scan the audience for my parents' faces. The 2 seats I reserved for them are empty. I accept the certificate, smile for the photo, and feel the weight of their absence like a stone in my chest. Later, I learn they took Sophia to her dance recital across town. It was the same night, my mother explains as if that's an answer. We couldn't be in two places at once. Sophia's recital was important. I don't ask what that makes my scholarship. I already know. College graduation should have been different. I was 23 summa cum laude, the first in our immediate family to earn honors. But at the restaurant afterward, my father spent the entire meal explaining to relatives why I'd taken 5 years instead of 4. Elena changed her major twice, he said, shaking his head. Couldn't decide what she wanted. Cost us an extra year of tuition. He didn't mention that I'd changed majors because he told me graphic design was frivolous, that I should study business like he wanted. He didn't mention I'd worked 20 hours a week to cover my living expenses, so I wouldn't burden them. He just made sure everyone knew I'd taken too long. When Sophia graduated a year later, barely scraping by with C's and one repeated class, my parents rented out an entire restaurant. They invited everyone they knew. My father gave a toast about how proud he was that she'd finished on time, how she'd done it the right way, how she was now ready to find a good husband and settle down properly. I sat at that celebration watching my younger sister bask in praise for doing the bare minimum, and something inside me went quiet. Not angry, just quiet. The kind of quiet that comes when you finally stop expecting things to change. But the memory that still makes my stomach turn happened 5 years ago on my 30th birthday. I'd made a reservation at the restaurant where we used to celebrate special occasions when I was young. I wore a new dress. I arrived early. My parents showed up 20 minutes late, and Sophia breezed in 30 minutes after that, apologizing about traffic. We'd barely ordered appetizers when my mother asked Sophia about her new boyfriend. That was all it took. For the next 90 minutes, my birthday dinner became a discussion of James's family connections, his position at a financial firm, his parents' estate in Connecticut. My father pulled up James's company profile on his phone, nodding approvingly at his credentials. My mother made plans to meet James's mother for lunch. I sat there invisible as they mapped out my sister's brilliant future with this man she'd been dating for 3 weeks. I stood up in the middle of my mother's sentence about country club memberships and said I needed to use the restroom. I walked past the restrooms, past the bar, straight out the front door, and drove home. My phone didn't ring for 40 minutes. When it finally did, it was Sophia. Where did you go? We ordered your cake. Not, are you okay? Not, we're sorry. Just confusion about the cake. I'm 35 now, and I can see the pattern with painful clarity. Sophia was born pretty with my mother's delicate features and blonde hair. I came out looking like my father's side of the family, all dark coloring and strong features. Sophia was compliant, eager to please, happy to be the daughter they could show off. I asked too many questions, wanted to make my own choices, refused to date the boys they approved of. Sophia did everything right according to their script. I kept writing my own lines. They gave Sophia unconditional love from the moment she drew breath. They gave me conditions I could never meet. I open my closet and pull out the box from the top shelf. I haven't looked inside in years. The cardboard is worn at the corners, the tape yellowed. I carry it to my living room and sit cross-legged on the floor, the taped invitation watching from the coffee table like a witness. Inside the box, my art scholarship certificate, Dean's List letters from every semester, my college diploma, client testimonials praising my design work, a feature article about my business from a local magazine, awards for volunteer work, proof that I built something despite them, not because of them. I think about all the times I wanted to show these to my parents. All the times I imagined them finally seeing me, finally being proud. All the years I spent trying to earn what they gave Sophia for free. I'm done trying. I carry the box to my fireplace. I don't hesitate. I don't cry. I light the kindling and begin feeding 35 years of achievements into the flames. The paper curls and blackens. The certificates turn to ash. The awards disappear like they never existed. I watch it all burn and I feel lighter than I have in decades. The last ember dies in the fireplace, and I'm still sitting on the floor when I hear Daniel's key in the lock. It's nearly 10 at night. He's been on a job site all day, probably covered in sawdust and paint, but he came straight here like he always does when he knows I've had a difficult day. I texted him this afternoon, just 3 words. It went badly. That's all it took. Daniel Rivera is 37, though most people guess younger because of the way he moves easy and unhurried, like someone who's figured out that rushing through life means missing the good parts. He runs a small contracting business specializing in restoration work, the kind of detailed, patient craftsmanship that most contractors won't touch because it doesn't pay enough for the hours it demands. Daniel doesn't care about that. He cares about bringing old things back to life. We met 3 years ago in the most ordinary way possible. I'd just rented studio space in a converted textile factory downtown, one of those beautiful old brick buildings with huge windows and original wood floors. The building was undergoing restoration, and Daniel's company had the contract. I was moving boxes up the stairs when my portfolio case slipped from under my arm, spilling design samples across the landing. I remember the frustration, the exhaustion, kneeling there trying to gather everything while fighting back tears over nothing and everything at once. Then there were hands helping mine. Careful hands that didn't crumple the pages, that organized them by size as he collected them. Daniel sat back on his heels and looked at the designs spread between us, really looked. He picked up a brand identity I'd created for a bookstore, studying the way I'd incorporated the building's architecture into the logo. "These are brilliant," he said, and something in his voice made me look up. "You see buildings the way I do, like they're alive, like they have stories." Nobody had ever said anything like that to me. Not my parents, not my professors, not even satisfied clients who paid me well. They saw my work as pretty pictures, functional designs, things that served a purpose. Daniel saw what I was actually trying to do. The conversation I was having with spaces and structures, the way I believed that places held memory and meaning. We talked for 2 hours on that landing. He told me about the building's history, how it had been built in 1892, how the bricks were fired in kilns that didn't exist anymore, how he was painstaking matching the original mortar mixture because the integrity of restoration is in the details everyone else thinks don't matter. I told him about my work, my frustrations with clients who wanted cookie-cutter solutions, my dream of designing spaces that honored what came before. When we finally stood up, my legs had gone numb from sitting, and I didn't care. He asked me to coffee the next day, then dinner the day after that. Within a month, I knew. What my parents call nobody is a man who dropped out of college at 20 when his mother was diagnosed with cancer. He was 2 years into an architecture degree at a state school, working nights to pay tuition when she got sick. The choice wasn't even a choice. He moved back home, became her caregiver, learned everything he could about construction and restoration by working for contractors during the hours she slept. She died 2 years later, and by then, Daniel had discovered he learned better with his hands than from textbooks anyway. He never went back to school. He built his reputation project by project, client by client, through work so meticulous that people sought him out specifically. The man my father called a nobody handyman who fixes other people's houses because he can't afford his own, owns a small craftsman bungalow he restored himself over 3 years. Every door frame is level. Every window is original, carefully repaired. The kitchen cabinets he built by hand from reclaimed wood. It's the most beautiful home I've ever been in, not because it's expensive, but because every inch of it reflects someone who understands what it means to honor the bones of something worth saving. Daniel proposed 6 months ago, though. I didn't know that's what was happening when he asked me to come see something he'd been working on. He led me to his workshop and presented me with my grandmother's jewelry box, the one that had been broken for years, the one I'd mentioned once in passing. He'd rebuilt it completely. The hinges worked smoothly. The inlay was restored. The velvet interior was replaced. When I opened it, the ring was nestled in the center, a simple sapphire on a silver band. "You don't fix broken things by making them something else," he said. "You honor what they were and make them whole again." I said yes before he finished the sentence. Now he walks into my apartment, sees the ash in the fireplace, the empty box on the floor, and knows without asking what I've done. He sits beside me, smelling like wood and honest work, and waits. That's Daniel. He never pushes, he just waits until I'm ready. I pull the taped invitation from the coffee table and hand it to him. He studies the tape lines, the careful reconstruction, and I watch his jaw tighten. But he doesn't explode. He doesn't call my parents' names or suggest revenge. Instead, he sets the invitation down gently and stands offering me his hand. "Come here," he says. "I want to show you something." He leads me to his laptop on my kitchen counter and opens a file. Architectural drawings fill the screen, detailed and professional, the kind of plans that take months to create. Buildings rising from a tropical coastline. Sustainability features integrated into luxury design. Notes in Daniel's careful handwriting covering every margin. At the top of the document in bold letters, Maldives Eco-Luxury Resort Project. I stare at the screen, not understanding. Daniel's voice is quiet beside me. "I've been working on something. Something they'll never expect." My heart starts pounding. "What is this?" He zooms in on a rendering of a villa perched over turquoise water. "This is what nobody builds." Daniel spends the next hour walking me through the plans, his voice animated in a way I rarely hear. He explains the eco-luxury concept, the way sustainable design doesn't have to mean sacrificing beauty, how he's been developing these ideas for years while working on restoration projects. The Maldives site, he tells me, is real. He's been in contact with investors. This isn't a dream, it's a possibility taking shape. I listen, my mind spinning, trying to reconcile the man my parents called nobody with the architect whose vision fills this screen. When he finally closes the laptop, I'm breathless with the scope of what he's shown me. But underneath the excitement, there's a hollowness I can't shake. My parents will never see this. They've already decided who Daniel is, who I am, what our life together will mean. As Daniel heads to the shower, I find myself reaching for my phone. There's one person who might understand. One person who's known me since birth, who's seen our parents' cruelty up close, who might finally stand with me instead of them. I call Sophia. She answers on the fourth ring, and I can hear music in the background, the clink of glasses. She's out somewhere expensive with people who matter. "Elena, is everything okay?" Her tone suggests she hopes this will be quick. "I just wanted to talk," I say, hating how tentative I sound. "About what happened today, at Mom and Dad's." There's a pause. The background noise fades as she moves somewhere quieter. "Oh, that." Another pause. "Look, Elena, I know you're upset, but you have to see where they're coming from." The words hit like cold water. "See where they're coming from? Sophia, they tore up my wedding invitation. Mom live-streamed it." "I know, I saw." Her voice is measured, careful, the way you'd talk to someone being unreasonable. And honestly, I get why they're concerned. You're 35 years old. Daniel seems nice, but Elena, come on. Mom and Dad have a point. You could have done better. I'm standing now pacing my small living room phone, pressed so hard against my ear it hurts. Better. What does that even mean? You know what it means. She sighs like I'm being deliberately obtuse. Someone with a degree. Someone with prospects. Someone from a good family who can provide the kind of life you deserve. Daniel's a handyman, Elena. He fixes other people's houses. He's a contractor who runs his own restoration business. There's a difference. Not to most people. Her voice hardens slightly. Not to the people whose opinions actually matter. Look, I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to help you see reality. You're not getting any younger. If this doesn't work out, what then? The words feel rehearsed, like she's repeating something our parents said. Did they ask you to call me? Is that what this is? No. But she hesitates just long enough that I know it's not entirely true. I just think someone needs to be honest with you. You've always been stubborn about this stuff. You've always insisted on doing things your way, even when people try to guide you toward better choices. Better choices, I repeat. Like you made... Yes, actually. There's pride in her voice now. James comes from a solid family. He has a real career. We have a future together that makes sense. That's what Mom and Dad wanted for both of us. I listened. You didn't. Something occurs to me then, a detail that's been nagging at the edge of my consciousness. How did they know? I ask quietly. About Daniel's background. About him not having a degree. I never told them those details. The silence stretches too long. Sophia. They would have found out anyway, she says, finally defensive. I just saved everyone time. When you first started dating him, you told me about his mom, about him leaving school to take care of her. I thought Mom and Dad should know what they were dealing with so they could prepare themselves. The betrayal lands with physical force. I have to sit down. You told them. You gave them ammunition to use against me. I told them the truth. There's a difference. Her voice rises slightly. What was I supposed to do? Lie keeps secrets. We're a family, Elena. We don't keep things from each other. We're a family, I echo, and the laugh that comes out sounds broken even to me. Sophia, do you have any idea what they put me through growing up? How many times I was overlooked, ignored, dismissed while you got everything? Oh, here we go. She sounds tired now. The victim narrative. Elena, you made your choices. You chose to be difficult. You chose to reject every good opportunity they tried to give you. You chose to date men they couldn't approve of. This is the life you built. Don't blame me because mine turned out better. Through the bathroom door, I can hear Daniel's shower running. I think about his careful hands, his quiet integrity, the way he sees beauty in broken things. I think about the plans on his laptop, the vision he's been building while my family tears him down without ever meeting him. Do you know what Sophia's wedding cost? I ask, though I already know the answer. $200,000, maybe more. Dad rented out that entire estate. Mom hired a planner from New York. Your dress alone was $30,000. So, she's guarded now. So when I asked if they'd contribute anything to my wedding, Mom said they couldn't afford to support another wedding, especially not for this kind of match. I let that sink in. It's not about money, is it? It's about whether they think I'm worth it. Sophia doesn't deny it. They invested in my wedding because James and I represent the kind of union that reflects well on the family. That matters, Elena. Whether you want to admit it or not, it matters. I stand again, moving to the window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there are families who love each other without conditions. Somewhere out there are sisters who protect each other instead of competing. I called you because I thought maybe you'd understand. Maybe you'd remember what it was like to be sisters before you decided their approval was worth more than our relationship. Don't put this on me. Her voice goes cold. You're the one who chose this path. You're the one marrying someone completely inappropriate. Just don't expect us at the wedding, Elena. None of us want to be associated with this. The line goes dead. I stand there holding the phone, staring at my reflection in the dark window. Daniel emerges from the bathroom, sees my face, and crosses the room without a word. He wraps his arms around me from behind, and I let myself lean into him. She chose them, I say. I know. I'm completely alone in that family. No, he says quietly. You're free of them. There's a difference. I turn in his arms, looking up at him. Fine, I say, and my voice doesn't shake. They won't be invited to what comes next either. Daniel studies my face for a long moment. Then he nods. What comes next? I think about the resort plans, about the life we're going to build, about the family who thinks I'm not worthy of their presence. Everything they never expected, I say, starting now. I send one more invitation to my parents. I know it's foolish even as I'm addressing the envelope, but some part of me still hopes that maybe given time to think, they'll reconsider. Maybe they'll remember I'm their daughter. Maybe they'll choose me just once. I mail it on a Tuesday morning before I can talk myself out of it. By Thursday afternoon, I learn exactly how naive that hope was. My phone starts buzzing during a client call. I ignore it, but it doesn't stop. When I finally check during a break, I have 43 notifications. Most of them are tags on Instagram. My stomach drops before I even open the app. The video is pinned to the top of my mother's profile. The thumbnail shows her holding a cream envelope, my handwriting clearly visible. She's positioned herself in their formal living room, the one with the oil paintings and fresh flowers, everything carefully arranged to project success and taste. The little red live indicator shows in the corner. Over 15,000 people watched this in real time. I press play with shaking hands. My mother's face fills the screen perfectly, made up her expression a practiced blend of disappointment and concern. "I need to share something with all of you," she begins, her voice trembling just enough to seem authentic. "My eldest daughter is 35 years old, and she's marrying a handyman. Not a doctor, not a lawyer, not even someone with a college degree. A handyman." She holds up the invitation, turning it so the camera catches every detail. "I've tried talking to her. Her father has tried. We gave her sister a beautiful wedding last year to a wonderful man from an excellent family, and we'd hoped Elena would follow that example. Instead, she's chosen this." She tears the invitation slowly, deliberately, the sound loud in her silent living room. Once, twice, 3 times. The pieces flutter into an antique crystal bowl positioned perfectly in frame. "Where did I go wrong?" she asks the camera, and I can see comments flooding the screen in real time. "I gave her every advantage, the best schools, a loving home. I introduced her to appropriate young men from good families. She rejected all of them. And now this. At 35, this is likely her last chance at marriage, and she's throwing it away on someone who fixes other people's houses for a living." She pauses, lowering her voice. "Please pray for our family. Pray that Elena comes to her senses before it's too late." The video ends with her dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. I scroll through the comments, each one a small knife. "Oh, Margaret, I'm so sorry you're going through this. How embarrassing for you, especially after Sophia's beautiful wedding. At 35, she should know better. Poor thing, she's probably desperate." This is what happens when daughters don't listen to their mothers. My hands are numb. I keep scrolling. There are over 2,000 comments now, and more appearing every second. Women from my parents' country club. People who've known me since childhood. Distant relatives I haven't seen in years, all publicly dissecting my choices while my mother plays the victim. Then I see that I've been tagged. Again and again. People making sure I see this. Making sure I know what they think of me. I click on one tag and find myself on my cousin Jennifer's page. She's shared my mother's video with the caption, "Family drama. Yikes. Team Margaret on this one." 63 likes. Comments agreeing that I'm making a mistake, that our parents always know best, that desperation makes women do foolish things. Another tag takes me to Mrs. Henderson's page, my mother's tennis partner. "Margaret is handling this with such grace. Some children just break your heart." 112 likes. Another tag. And another. The video is spreading through their entire social network, being shared and commented on and dissected. My relationship, my choices, my life torn apart for entertainment by people who've never even met Daniel. Then I see Sophia's post. She shared the video too, but her approach is more subtle, more devastating. The caption reads, "Family is everything. Sometimes love means tough truths." Red heart emoji. 3 praying hands emojis. Over 7,000 likes already. The comments are worse here because Sophia's followers are younger, meaner, more brutal in their assessments. "Your poor parents. I'd die if my sister embarrassed me like this. At least you married well. This is so sad. Imagine being the disappointing daughter. She probably can't do better at her age." One comment has over 300 likes. "This is what happens when feminism convinces women they don't need to marry up. Reality check, you do." I'm sitting on my couch, phone in hand, and I can't move. I'm watching my family destroy my reputation in real time, watching thousands of people who don't know me decide I'm desperate, foolish, and embarrassment. I'm watching my mother perform grief over choices I made, my sister weaponize sisterhood while stabbing me in the back, my entire extended family choose sides against me. The door opens. Daniel's home early from the job site, and I don't even register his arrival until he's kneeling in front of me. His face is alarmed, and I realize my cheeks are wet. When did I start crying, Elena? His hands cover mine, gently prying the phone from my grip. He looks at the screen, and I watch his expression shift from confusion to understanding to rage. Jesus Christ. He keeps scrolling, his jaw clenching tighter with each swipe. Your mother did this. Your sister shared it. I nod, unable to speak. He sets the phone aside and cups my face in his hands, searching my eyes. I expect him to tell me to ignore it, to say it doesn't matter, to offer comfort that won't actually help. Instead, he asks the only question that matters. What do you want to do? Something shifts in my chest. The tears stop. The numbness fades. What replaces it is cold and clear and absolutely certain. I think about my mother's performance, carefully staged in her expensive living room. I think about Sophia's calculated post designed to look supportive while actually being cruel. I think about the thousands of strangers who now believe they know who I am, what I'm worth, what my life means. They made this public. They chose this battlefield. They think they've humiliated me into submission. They have no idea what's coming. I look at Daniel and my voice doesn't waver. They made it public, so will I. But they won't recognize what's coming. I reach for my laptop, open it with steady hands. Tell me everything about this Maldives project. Every detail, every timeline, every possibility. I pull up a new browser window. If they want to make my life a public spectacle, let's give them something worth watching. Daniel studies my face for a long moment. Then he smiles, slow and dangerous. Everything. He reaches for the laptop, pulling up files I haven't seen yet. Financial projections, investor contacts, construction timelines. Then let's start with what nobody thinks we can do, he says. Let's start with what will change everything. Daniel walks me through the Maldives project with an intensity I've never seen in him before. He shows me site surveys, environmental impact studies, preliminary architectural renderings that take my breath away. The resort he's envisioned isn't just beautiful, it's revolutionary. Villas built on stilts over crystal water using reclaimed materials. Solar panels integrated so seamlessly into the design that they look like art installations. Water filtration systems that give back more than they take. It's luxury and sustainability married so perfectly that neither compromises the other. As he talks, his hands move through the air, sketching invisible structures, and I see the architect he would have become if life hadn't demanded he take a different path. He's been developing this for 3 years, he tells me, refining every detail while working restoration jobs during the day. He has one serious investor interested, a woman named Catherine Bennett, who believes in his vision, but he needs capital to match her investment. He needs legitimacy. He needs someone who believes in him enough to risk everything. I'm quiet for a long moment after he finishes. Then I say something I've never told anyone, not even him. My grandmother left me money. Daniel looks up from the laptop, confused. What? When I turned 25, I inherited a trust fund, $250,000. I watch his face process this information, the surprise, the questions forming. I never touched it. I invested it quietly. Index funds mostly, nothing risky. For 10 years, I just let it grow. Elena. His voice is careful. Why didn't you tell me? Because my parents always said money makes people lazy, that handouts destroy ambition. They said it constantly while giving Sophia everything she ever wanted. I move to my desk, pull out a folder I keep locked in the bottom drawer. Inside are quarterly statements I never look at. But that wasn't the real reason I kept it secret. I kept it secret because I watched them control Sophia with money. Every gift came with strings. Every dollar had conditions attached. They paid for her apartment but chose the location. They paid for her car, but it had to be the brand they approved. They paid for her wedding, but they controlled every decision. Money was their leash. I hand Daniel the most recent statement. His eyes widen at the number. $380,000. I knew if they found out about this, they'd find a way to take it or control it or use it as leverage. So I pretended it didn't exist. I lived on what I earned. I built my business without it. I proved to myself that I could make it on my own. I sit beside him, taking his hand. But Daniel, I don't want to just make it anymore. I want to build something they can't dismiss, something they can't tear up and throw away. He's staring at the statement, then at me, then back at the numbers. Elena, this is your security, your safety net. I can't ask you to risk this on my project. You're not asking. I'm offering. I pull the laptop toward me, opening the financial projections he showed me earlier. You need $350,000 to match Catherine's investment and secure the site. You need it to prove to the Maldives Development Board that you're serious. You need it to make this real. I look at him, and I need him to understand this isn't charity or blind faith. I've read through everything you've shown me. The numbers work. The design is brilliant. The market research is solid. This isn't a fantasy, Daniel. It's a viable business being held back by one thing: capital. And if it fails, his voice is raw. If something goes wrong and you lose everything, then I lose everything building something I believe in with someone I love. That's a better investment than letting it sit in an account while my family calls you nobody. I take his face in my hands. They called you a handyman who fixes other people's houses because he can't afford his own. Let's show them who we really are. Not separately, together. Full business partners. Daniel pulls me into his arms, holding me so tightly I can barely breathe. When he pulls back, his eyes are wet. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. We spend the next 3 days planning. Not just the resort, not just the wedding, but everything. We spread documents across my apartment floor, my kitchen table, every flat surface. We create timelines, backup plans, contingencies. Daniel calls Catherine Bennett and arranges a meeting. I research Maldives business regulations. We draft partnership agreements splitting everything 50-50. Rivera Walsh Development, LLC. Both our names, equal stake, equal voice, equal risk. On the third night, exhausted and running on coffee and takeout, Daniel asks the question that's been hovering over everything. What about your family when they find out? They'll find out when we want them to. I say, not before. We control the narrative this time. We build first. We prove it works. Then we let them watch what we've created without them. They'll say you're being reckless, that I took advantage of you. Let them say whatever they want. Their words can't stop wire transfers. I pull up my bank's website log into the account I haven't touched in 10 years. Ready? Daniel nods, but I can see his hands shaking slightly. I initiate the transfer. $350,000 to Rivera Walsh Development, LLC, the business account we opened yesterday. I enter my password, confirm the amount, acknowledge the warnings about large transfers. My finger hovers over the final button. Elena, that's everything you have. I look at him and that cold smile returns, the one I've been wearing since my father tore that first invitation. No, I say. That's everything I'm investing in us. I press confirm. The screen processes for a moment, then displays transfer complete. We stare at the confirmation number in silence. 10 years of secret savings gone in seconds, converted into something bigger than security, bigger than safety nets, converted into possibility. Now, I say, closing the laptop with a definitive snap, make the call to your investor. Daniel reaches for his phone, but he doesn't dial immediately. He's looking at me with something I've never seen in anyone's eyes before. Not gratitude, not debt, something like awe mixed with equals recognizing each other. We're really doing this, he says. We're really doing this. He makes the call. Catherine Bennett answers on the second ring. While he talks, explaining that he's secured matching investment and is ready to move forward, I walk to my window and look out at the city. Somewhere out there, my mother is probably planning her next performance. My sister is probably liking comments on her viral post. My father is probably telling country club friends about his disappointing daughter. Let them talk. Let them perform. Let them think they've won. They have no idea what we've just set in motion. Catherine Bennett agrees to meet us in person within the week. Daniel hangs up, and we sit in stunned silence, the reality of what we've just done settling over us like a physical weight. $350,000. A partnership. A project that could change everything or cost us everything. I should feel terrified. Instead, I feel clear-headed for the first time in weeks. But there's one thing I need to do before we move forward, one final severance from the life I'm leaving behind. The next morning, while Daniel meets with contractors about timeline estimates, I drive to my parents' house. I still have a key, though I'm sure they've forgotten they ever gave it to me. The driveway is empty, both cars gone. My mother mentioned on her Instagram stories yesterday that they were driving to their lake house for the weekend, a detail shared with her followers but never with me. I'm grateful for their absence. I don't want confrontation. I just want to collect the few personal items I left in my old bedroom years ago and never return. The house is silent when I let myself in. It smells like my mother's expensive candles and furniture polish, everything maintained to museum-level perfection. I climb the stairs to my old room, which my mother has since converted into a guest suite, every trace of my childhood efficiently erased. In the closet, pushed far back, I find a cardboard box with my name on it in my own teenage handwriting. Inside are yearbooks, old journals, a few photographs. Nothing I need, but I take it anyway. These are mine, and I don't want them here anymore. As I'm leaving, I pause at the hallway that leads to the attic stairs. I haven't been up there in over a decade. My parents used it for storage for things they didn't want to look at, but couldn't quite throw away. Something pulls me toward those stairs, some instinct I can't name. The attic is dusty and hot, late afternoon sun streaming through a small window. Boxes are stacked along the walls labeled in my mother's precise handwriting. Holiday decorations, old tax documents, Sophia's baby clothes. I'm about to leave when I see a box in the far corner separate from the others, the cardboard darkened with age. The label reads, R&M 1985-1990. Robert and Margaret. My parents. The years before I was born. I shouldn't open it. It's not mine. But my hands are already lifting the lid, already reaching inside. What I find stops my breath. Photographs. Dozens of them. My father, impossibly young, maybe 22 or 23, standing at a construction site in mud-caked work boots and a torn denim jacket. He's thin, almost gaunt, nothing like the well-fed man in tailored suits who tore my invitation. My mother in a pink waitress uniform, her name tag reading Maggie, holding a coffee pot and smiling at the camera. She looks exhausted and hopeful in equal measure. More photos, the two of them, in front of a trailer home, the kind you see in parks where people live when they can't afford anything else. My father's arm around my mother's shoulders, both of them squinting into the sun. These aren't the people I know. These aren't the people who built a mansion and joined country clubs and judge everyone by their bank statements. I dig deeper and find letters, the paper yellowed and brittle. They're addressed to Richard Walsh at various addresses, all in the same elegant handwriting. I open one carefully and read the signature first. Your mother, Eleanor Walsh. My grandmother, my father's mother, whom I never met because she died before I was born. The letter is dated 1987. Richard. It begins. I am writing once more in hopes you will reconsider your decision to support Robert's marriage to that waitress girl. She comes from nothing. Her family has nothing. She will drag our family name through the mud. If you continue to allow this union, you leave me no choice but to disown Robert entirely. He must choose between his inheritance and this inappropriate relationship. A Walsh does not marry beneath his station. My hands shake as I open another letter. Robert has refused to end this relationship. Therefore, I am following through on my promise. He will receive nothing from me. Not now, not in my will. He has made his choice, and he must live with the consequences of marrying that girl. The language is almost identical to what my father said about Daniel. Beneath his station. Marrying down. Inappropriate. I photograph every letter with my phone, my hand steadying as the enormity of what I'm discovering settles over me. My father was disowned for marrying my mother. They lived in a trailer. He worked construction. She was a waitress. They were exactly what they now despise, exactly what they're punishing me for choosing. At the bottom of the box, I find one more photograph. My mother, visibly pregnant, sitting on the steps of that trailer. Her face is blotchy from crying, and she's holding a letter in her hands. I can just make out the handwriting on the paper she's clutching. It's addressed to Margaret from someone named Helen, and Tom and I can read the first line. "We told you not to marry that boy. You've made your bed, now lie in it. Don't contact us again." Her own parents rejected her. My mother, who just performed heartbreak on Instagram about my inappropriate marriage, was rejected by her parents for the exact same reason. My father, who called Daniel a nobody, was called worse by his own mother. They lived through this. They know exactly what this feels like. And they forgot. Or worse, they remembered and decided to do it anyway. I photographed this picture too, my mother's tear-stained face frozen in time, proof that she once understood what rejection felt like. Then I carefully put everything back in the box exactly as I found it. They don't know I've seen this. They don't know I have evidence of their hypocrisy. Not yet. I close the attic door behind me and descend the stairs. In my car, I sit for a moment looking at the photographs on my phone. Young Robert and young Margaret, poor and rejected and in love anyway. They survived their family's cruelty. They built a life. They made money. And somewhere along the way, they became their parents. They became the people who hurt them. I look at the last photo again, my mother crying on those trailer steps, and something hardens in my chest. "You forgot," I whisper to the image. "But I'll make sure you remember." I drive straight from my parents' house to Daniel's bungalow, the photographs burning in my phone like evidence at a crime scene. He's in his workshop when I arrive, reviewing material samples for a restoration project, but he takes one look at my face and sets everything aside. I don't say anything. I just hand him my phone and watch as he scrolls through the images. His expression shifts with each photo. Confusion at first, then recognition, then something darker. When he reaches the picture of my mother crying on the trailer steps, his jaw clenches so hard I can hear his teeth grind. He looks up at me, and there's fury in his eyes I've rarely seen. "They lived this," he says, his voice tight. "They know exactly what they're doing to you because it was done to them." Word for word, I confirm. My grandmother's letters could have been written by my father last week. The same language, the same contempt, marrying beneath station, inappropriate choices, all of it. Daniel starts pacing phone still in his hand, scrolling back through the photos. "We have to show people this. We have to post these online right now, counter their narrative with the truth. Let everyone see what hypocrites they are." He's already opening Instagram on my phone. "Your mother performed that whole victim routine about you marrying down when she married down herself. Your father called me a nobody when his own mother called him worse. Elena, this destroys their credibility completely." I take the phone from his hands gently but firmly. "No." "What do you mean, no?" He stares at me like I've lost my mind. "This is perfect. This shows everyone exactly who they are. This ends their moral high ground forever." "You're right," I say. "It would. And that's exactly why we're not doing it." He stops pacing, confused. "I don't understand." I sit down on his workbench, gathering my thoughts, trying to articulate something that's been crystallizing in my mind since I left that attic. If we post these photos now, what happens? We get a few days of vindication. People say, "Wow, her parents are hypocrites." We win the social media battle. I look at him steadily. But that's all it is. A battle. Small, petty, reactive. We'd be doing exactly what they did, trying to humiliate them publicly to make ourselves feel better. We'd be stooping to their level. They humiliated you first, Daniel argues. They earned this. They did. I agree. But Daniel, think about what you showed me 3 days ago. Those resort plans, that vision. That's not small or petty or reactive. That's building something real, something undeniable, something they can't fight or diminish or explain away. I stand, moving closer to him. If we expose them now, we become the children fighting with their parents on the internet. If we build what we're planning to build, we become something they can never diminish. We become successful despite them, not because we destroyed them. He's listening now, the anger in his eyes shifting to something more thoughtful. You want to let them think they won. I want them to think whatever they want while we build something they can't touch. I pull up the resort renderings on my phone, the beautiful structures rising from turquoise water. This is the answer. Not photographs of their past. Not exposing their hypocrisy. This. Success they can't deny. Achievement they can't tear up and throw in the trash. A life so beautiful they'll choke on their own judgment. Daniel takes my face in his hands, studying me. You've thought this through. I spent the whole drive here thinking it through. If we post those photos, we get revenge. But revenge fades. Success doesn't. I cover his hands with mine. My father called you a nobody handyman. Let's show him who you really are. Not by telling him, by building something so magnificent he can't look away. And your mother's video, her performance about your poor choices. Let it stand. I say and I mean it. Let her words stay out there. Because when we're standing in our own resort, married and successful and happy, those words will condemn her, not us. She'll have to live with what she said. We won't have to do anything except exist in the life we built. Daniel is quiet for a long moment. Then he nods slowly. Silence is the loudest revenge. Exactly. I pull up the photographs again, looking at my parents' young, struggling faces. But I'm keeping these, not to use now, as insurance. If they try to interfere with our plans, if they try to sabotage us, if they escalate beyond words into action, then we have ammunition. But only then. Only if they force our hand. When the time is right, they'll serve their purpose, Daniel says. When the time is right, I confirm. We spend the next hour talking through our strategy in detail. We'll move forward with the Maldives project immediately. We'll keep everything quiet until we're far enough along that they can't stop us. We'll plan a wedding that reflects who we are, not who they wanted us to be. We'll build our success on our own terms in our own time, and we'll let that success speak for itself. No public fights, no social media battles, no stooping to their tactics. Just steady, relentless forward motion toward a life they said was impossible. Your meeting with Catherine is in 3 days, I remind him. What are you going to tell her about the partnership structure? The truth. That you're my equal partner in this venture. That we're investing together, building together, risking together. He pulls me close. That the nobody handyman found somebody extraordinary. I lean into him, feeling the solid reality of his presence, the certainty of what we're building. They think they broke me with that video. They have no idea what they actually did, Daniel says quietly. They gave you clarity. They showed you exactly who they are. They freed you to stop trying to earn their love. He's right. In tearing up that invitation and live streaming their contempt and turning my life into public entertainment, they released me from 35 years of trying. I don't have to prove anything to them anymore. I only have to prove it to myself. As we stand there in his workshop, surrounded by the tools of his trade and the blueprints of our future, I feel something shift. Not just in me, but between us. We're not just partners now. We're allies in something bigger than either of us alone. We seal this unspoken pact with a kiss, and I taste possibility on his lips, the promise of everything we're about to build. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I almost ignore it, but something makes me check. An email notification lights up the screen. The sender is Catherine Bennett. The subject line reads, I heard about your vision. Let's talk about $10 million. I pull back from Daniel, showing him the screen. His eyes widen as he reads it. 10 million, he whispers. That's more than triple what we discussed. That's enough to build the entire first phase without additional investors. I open the email. Catherine's message is brief. Daniel showed me your partnership agreement. I'm impressed by your commitment. I'd like to discuss significantly increasing my investment. Are you free to meet tomorrow morning? This could change everything. I look up at Daniel, and that cold smile returns the one that's become my armor and my weapon. Game on, I say. He grins fierce and determined. Game on. 24 hours later, Daniel and I are on a plane to the Maldives. Catherine Bennett doesn't believe in wasting time. Her email had been explicit. Come see the site in person, bring every document related to the project, be prepared to make decisions quickly. She's arranged everything. Flights included business class tickets that arrive in our email within an hour of our confirmation. I've never flown business class in my life. As the plane climbs over the Atlantic, Daniel reaches for my hand, and neither of us says what we're both thinking. This is real. This is actually happening. We land in Mail after 17 hours of travel, disoriented and exhausted, but running on pure adrenaline. A driver holds a sign with our names and escorts us to a seaplane. 20 minutes later, we're skimming over water so blue it looks artificial, and I understand for the first time why Daniel chose this location. The islands rising from the ocean look like emeralds scattered on silk. The water shifts through shades of turquoise and sapphire I've never seen outside of photographs. It's paradise, and we're about to build something here. Catherine is waiting on the dock of a private island resort where she's arranged our accommodations. She's 58 but carries herself with the assurance of someone who's spent decades making decisions that matter. Her silver hair is cut in a sharp bob, and she's dressed in white linen that somehow looks crisp despite the humidity. When she shakes my hand, her grip is firm, assessing. Elena, I've been looking forward to meeting Daniel's partner. The emphasis on the word partner is deliberate approving. We spend the afternoon in her villa, reviewing Daniel's plans spread across a massive teak table. Catherine asks questions that reveal she's done extensive research. She knows sustainable building practices, understands the Maldives' regulatory environment, has already spoken with local officials about permitting. She traces her finger along Daniel's rendering of the main pavilion, nodding. This is what the luxury market needs, she says. Guests want to feel good about their choices now. They want beauty that doesn't cost the earth. You've designed something that gives them both. Daniel walks her through the technical specifications. Reclaimed teak from demolished buildings in Indonesia for the villa frames. Solar panels integrated into roof designs so seamlessly they look like architectural features rather than afterthoughts. Rainwater collection systems hidden in decorative water features. Every luxury amenity powered by renewable energy. Coral restoration programs built into the resort's foundation, literally and figuratively. Catherine listens intently occasionally, making notes, and I watch her expression shift from interested to impressed to something deeper, something almost emotional. When Daniel finishes, Catherine is quiet for a long moment. Then she looks at both of us and says, I'd like to commit $8 million to this project immediately. The number hangs in the air between us. With our $350,000 and her $8 million, we'd have enough to build the entire first phase. 10 luxury villas, the main pavilion, all infrastructure. Everything. $8 million, Daniel repeats as if testing whether the words are real. I've been looking for a project like this for 5 years, Catherine says. Something that combines vision with integrity. Something built by people who care more about creating something meaningful than extracting maximum profit. She looks directly at me. I know what it's like to be underestimated because of who you love. I won't let that happen to either of you if I can help it. There's weight in those words, a story she's not telling yet. But before I can ask, she's pulling out contracts her lawyers have already drafted, partnership agreements that split ownership 3 ways. Documents that make this officially real. We sign everything that afternoon. Rivera Walsh Maldives Eco Resort becomes a legal entity. Catherine's lawyers file incorporation papers while we're still sitting at her table. By evening, we own an island. We have $8 million in capital. We have 12 months to build something extraordinary. The next morning, Catherine takes us to our site. It's smaller than her resort island, but more beautiful if that's possible. Pristine white sand, coconut palms, water so clear we can see fish swimming 20 feet down. Daniel walks the perimeter with a surveyor's eye, already envisioning where structures will rise. Catherine stands beside me, watching him. "He's brilliant," she says quietly. "You both are. This is going to work, Elena." "I hope so." My voice sounds small even to me. "We've invested everything we have in this." "I know. That's why I'm investing too. People who risk everything believe in what they're building. That belief is worth more than any business plan." She pauses. "Your names will be equal on everything. I insist on that. This is Rivera Walsh, not Rivera with Walsh as an afterthought. Partnership means partnership." Tears sting my eyes unexpectedly. "Thank you." We spend the week meeting with contractors, architects, environmental consultants. Daniel is in his element, making decisions with a confidence I've never seen in him before. This is what he was meant to do, and watching him do it feels like witnessing someone finally become themselves. I handle communications documentation, the 1,000 details that make projects run smoothly. We work 16-hour days and fall into bed exhausted every night, but neither of us has been happier. On our last evening before flying home, I contact 3 architectural blogs I've been following for years. I send them the same carefully worded press release: new sustainable luxury resort breaking ground in the Maldives, revolutionary eco-design opening projected for next year. I include one rendering just enough to intrigue. I don't mention my family. I don't mention the viral video. I'm building credibility in professional circles, first planting seeds that will grow while we work. My family doesn't read architectural blogs. They won't notice this. Not yet. As the sun sets on our final evening, Catherine suggests we walk the island one more time. The 3 of us move through the palm trees, and I'm mentally calculating timelines, material deliveries, construction phases. Then, Catherine stops walking and turns to me. "Elena, I need to tell you something." Her voice is different now, careful. "I know about your family, about the video your mother posted, about everything they've said about you and Daniel." I freeze, the warm evening suddenly cold. "How?" "I follow design and architecture communities online. That's how I found Daniel's work originally. Your mother's video was shared in some of those spaces, unfortunately. People discussing it as a cautionary tale about family dynamics." She meets my eyes steadily. "That's why I'm investing. Not despite your story, but because of it." My throat tightens. "I don't understand." "You will," Catherine says. "But not tonight. Tonight, just know that I see you. Both of you. And I believe in what you're building together. That's all that matters right now." Daniel excuses himself to make a call to one of the contractors, leaving Catherine and me alone on the beach as the sky turns from gold to purple. The question hangs between us like something physical. How does this sophisticated investor, this woman we met less than a week ago, know the details of my family's cruelty? Catherine gestures to a pair of chairs near the water's edge, and we sit. She's quiet for a moment, watching the waves, and I recognize the posture of someone gathering courage to share something painful. "I follow architecture and design communities online," she begins. "It's how I find projects worth investing and how I stay connected to what's emerging in the field. About 2 months ago, your mother's video started circulating in those spaces. Not because people cared about your wedding, but because it became a case study in toxic family dynamics. Someone shared it in a thread about families who don't support creative careers." She turns to look at me. "The comments were ugly. People treating your life like entertainment, your pain like gossip. But then someone posted a link to your portfolio, your actual work." My face heats with embarrassment and something else. strangers discussing my family drama, my mother's performance dissected by people who don't know us. I didn't know it spread that far. The internet is cruel that way. Pain travels fast. Catherine's voice is gentle. But Elena, your work is extraordinary. The brand identities you create, the way you integrate architectural history into modern design, it's sophisticated and thoughtful. When I saw your name attached to Daniel's Maldives proposal as equal partner, I knew this was something special. Not despite the controversy around you, but because someone who's been through what you've been through and still chooses to build something beautiful, that person has the resilience this kind of project demands. I don't know what to say. I've spent so long hiding from my family's judgment that I forgot other people might see me differently. 30 years ago, I was you, Catherine says quietly. 28 years old, engaged to a man my parents called inappropriate. His name was James. He was an artist, a sculptor from a working-class family in Ohio. My parents were old Philadelphia money, the kind of people who believe your ancestors' accomplishments matter more than your own. When I told them I was marrying James, my father gave me an ultimatum. End the engagement and maintain my place in the family, or marry him and be cut off completely. The parallel is so exact, it makes my chest ache. What did you do? I married him anyway, in a small ceremony with his family and a handful of friends who chose us over status. My parents didn't come, they didn't speak to me for 26 years. She says this matter-of-factly, but I can hear the old wound underneath. I had a trust fund from my grandmother that they couldn't touch, about $200,000. James and I used it to start a small sustainable building company. We struggled for years, but we built something real together, something we were proud of. Your parents never reconciled. I ask, though I already know the answer from the way she's telling this story. My mother died 15 years ago. My father died 8 years ago. Both died without ever meeting their only grandchildren, without ever acknowledging that James was a brilliant artist whose sculptures are now in museums, without ever admitting they were wrong. Catherine's voice doesn't waver, but her hands clench slightly in her lap. James passed 5 years ago. Cancer. And one of the last things he said to me was that he wished my family could have known our children, that he wished they'd chosen love over pride. Tears blur my vision. This is my future if I stay this course. Years of separation, maybe decades. The possibility that my parents will die without ever admitting they were wrong. I'm telling you this not to discourage you, Catherine continues, but to prepare you. The path you're choosing is hard, but Elena, it's also worth it. I had 43 years with James. I had 3 beautiful children. I built a company that's done real good in the world. I have no regrets about choosing him. She turns to face me fully. What I do regret is letting their rejection steal pieces of my joy. Don't let them do that to you. Build something so beautiful they can't look away, and then live your life without waiting for their approval. How did you stop waiting? I ask, because this is the question that keeps me awake at night. I focused on what I was building instead of what I'd lost. Every project, every success, every happy moment with James, I let it fill the space where their approval used to live. She reaches over and takes my hand. Success isn't about proving them wrong, Elena. It's about proving yourself right. It's about building a life so full of meaning and joy that their absence becomes irrelevant. We sit in silence for a while, listening to the waves. Daniel returns, eventually settling into the sand at my feet, and Catherine begins teaching us both about business strategy in the luxury market, about emotional resilience in the face of criticism, about the long game of building reputation. She talks about investors will need to court regulations, will need to navigate the 1,000 small battles that building something meaningful requires. But underneath the practical advice, I hear what she's really teaching us: how to survive being rejected by the people who are supposed to love us unconditionally. How to build joy in the ruins of family. We spend the next 2 days working intensely, finalizing contracts, meeting with the construction team Catherine has assembled, walking the island, and marking where each structure will rise. Catherine is beside us through all of it, not just as an investor, but as a mentor, someone who's walked this path before and knows its dangers. On our final morning before flying home, Catherine finds me alone on the dock watching the sunrise paint the water gold. She's holding a manila envelope thick with something inside. "I want you to have this," she says, handing it to me. "Open it only if you ever doubt whether you're doing the right thing. Only if the weight of their rejection becomes too much to carry." I feel the thickness of the envelope trying to guess what's inside. Photographs, documents. "What is this?" Catherine's smile is mysterious, knowing. "Insurance, just like you're keeping." My breath catches. She knows about the photographs in my parents' attic. She knows I'm holding evidence of their hypocrisy. "How did you—" "Because I kept insurance too," she says. "Letters from my parents, proof of what they said, what they did. I never used it, but knowing I had it, knowing I could prove my truth if I needed to, that gave me strength." She closes my fingers around the envelope. "You're not alone in this, Elena. You never were." I keep Catherine's envelope in my desk drawer unopened. Some nights I'm tempted to look inside, but I remember her words only when doubt becomes too heavy to carry. So far, I'm carrying it. The project consumes every waking hour. Daniel and I are in constant communication with the construction team in the Maldives, reviewing progress reports, approving material selections, solving the 1,000 small problems that arise when building something ambitious. 3 months pass in a blur of video calls and document reviews, and late nights hunched over blueprints. The architectural blogs I contacted have published features on the project, generating quiet buzz in professional circles. We're building momentum, but we're doing it carefully, deliberately below my family's radar. Then I get an email from Patricia Rothschild. She's a textile designer whose work I've admired for years, and she's seen my portfolio through one of the architectural features. She wants to discuss a potential collaboration for her new showroom downtown. Can we meet to discuss the project? She suggests lunch at Westbrook Country Club, where she's a member. It's also where my parents are members, where I grew up attending events I was never quite good enough for, but the club has excellent meeting spaces, and Patricia assures me she's reserved a private dining room. The chances of running into my family are slim. I accept. I arrive 15 minutes early, dressed in my best client meeting outfit portfolio under my arm. Patricia is already waiting in the club's main lounge, and she's everything. I hoped sharp creative, genuinely excited about the prospect of working together. We're deep in conversation about color palettes and spatial flow when I see them. My parents entering the lounge with Sophia. My mother in tennis whites, my father in golf attire, Sophia in something expensive and carefully casual. They're laughing about something, the picture of a happy family, and I freeze mid-sentence. Patricia notices my distraction and turns to see what I'm looking at. Before I can suggest we move to the private dining room, my mother spots me. I watch recognition cross her face, followed by something calculating. She excuses herself from my father and Sophia and walks directly toward our table. There's no escape. "Elena!" Her voice carries across the lounge, drawing attention. Several people look up from their conversations. What a surprise. I didn't know you were still a member here. I'm not actually. My membership lapsed years ago when I couldn't afford the dues, but I don't say that. "Hello, Mother. I'm here meeting a client." Margaret's eyes slide to Patricia with interest, then back to me with what I recognize as performative concern. "A client. How nice that you're still doing your little design business." She emphasizes little, just enough to sting. "People are asking questions, you know. About you. About that wedding you were planning. Are you still going through with that?" Patricia shifts uncomfortably beside me, clearly sensing the tension but not understanding its source. This is exactly what my mother wants to embarrass me in front of someone professional to remind me of my place. I take a breath and make a choice. Not the old choice where I'd shrink and deflect and try to escape. A new choice built on 3 months of progress and Catherine's envelope sitting in my drawer and the knowledge that I'm building something real. "Yes, Mother. Daniel and I are getting married at our resort property in the Maldives." I keep my voice level, pleasant, as if we're discussing the weather. Patricia's eyes widen with sudden interest. "You own a resort in the Maldives?" Before I can answer, my father and Sophia have joined us, drawn by whatever drama my mother is creating. Robert looks at me with the same dismissive expression I've seen my entire life. Owns is a strong word. She invested her grandmother's trust fund in some pipe dream with that contractor she's marrying. Eco-resort, she calls it. He says eco-resort like it's a child's fantasy. Throwing away $250,000 on a fantasy. The old Elena would have withered under that tone. The new Elena, who spent 3 months working 16-hour days to make that fantasy real, who's reviewed structural engineering reports and environmental impact studies and financial projections, simply smiles. Actually, Father, it's a $10 million eco-luxury development, Rivera Walsh Resort. We break ground in 2 weeks and we're projected to open next spring. I turn to Patricia, whose expression has shifted from uncomfortable to fascinated. My fiancé Daniel designed it. Revolutionary sustainable architecture integrated with luxury amenities. We're already fielding inquiries from several high-end travel publications. Patricia leans forward. $10 million. That's extraordinary. I'd love to hear more about the design philosophy. Sophia makes a small sound, something between a laugh and a scoff. Elena, come on. You can't actually believe this is going to work. A resort, you and some handyman. Daniel is a restoration architect. I correct, still calm, still pleasant. And yes, I believe it's going to work. Our investor believes it's going to work. The Maldives Development Board believes it's going to work. I reach into my portfolio and pull out a business card, handing it to Patricia. We can discuss the textile collaboration over lunch, and I'm happy to share more about the resort project if you're interested. Patricia takes the card, studying it. Rivera Walsh Maldives Eco Resort, with both our names listed as co-founders. I'm very interested, she says. In fact, I have several clients in the luxury hospitality space who might want to know about this. My mother's face has gone rigid, that frozen smile she wears when things aren't going according to her script. My father is staring at the business card in Patricia's hand like it's a weapon pointed at him. If you'll excuse us, I say, standing. Patricia and I have a meeting to get to. I gather my portfolio and Patricia rises with me. As we walk toward the private dining room, I hear Patricia say, pitched just loud enough for my family to hear, "Your daughter owns a Maldives resort. My God. Margaret, you must be so proud." I don't turn around to see my mother's response. I don't need to. I can feel the crack in her forced smile from here, can sense my father's confusion as his dismissive narrative crumbles. Sophia's silence is the loudest of all. Patricia and I settle into the private dining room, and she immediately wants to know everything about the resort. I walk her through the concept, show her Daniel's renderings on my tablet, explain the sustainable luxury approach. She's genuinely excited, and before our lunch is finished, she's not only committed to the showroom collaboration, but has given me the names of 3 hotel groups who might want to feature our resort in their luxury travel programs. As I'm leaving the club 2 hours later, contract signed with Patricia, and 3 new leads in my phone, I pass the lounge where my family sat. They're gone now, but I imagine the conversation they must be having. The questions my mother can't answer. The doubt creeping into my father's certainty that I'm making a mistake. I walk to my car, and for the first time in 3 months, I let myself feel it. Not triumph exactly, something quieter, something like the first taste of vindication. My shoulders straighten, my spine lengthens. I'm not their disappointing daughter anymore. I'm someone building something they can't diminish, and they're just beginning to realize it. The encounter at the country club shifts something. Word spreads quickly through my parents' social circle the way gossip always does in their world. Elena Walsh owns a resort in the Maldives. Elena Walsh has a $10 million development project. The same people who pitied my mother over my poor choices are now asking questions she can't easily answer. 2 days after the country club incident, I receive a text from her. The first direct communication in 4 months. "Elena, we should talk. Can we meet for lunch?" I stare at the message for a long time. Daniel finds me holding my phone, reading and rereading those 12 words. "What does she want?" he asks. "To explain away what happened at the club. to regain control of the narrative. I set the phone down. Or maybe to apologize, though I doubt that. You don't have to meet her. No. I agree. But I want to. I choose the restaurant carefully. A small French bistro in a neighborhood my parents never visit, quiet and intimate, the kind of place where conversations can't be overheard. I arrive early and take a table in the back corner. When my mother walks in 15 minutes later, I see her scan the room with barely concealed distaste. This isn't her usual venue, not the kind of place where she might run into anyone who matters. She sits across from me, and I notice the care she's taken with her appearance. Hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, wearing the kind of understated expensive outfit that screams old money. She's armored for this meeting, whatever she thinks it's going to be. Elena. She reaches across the table as if to take my hand, but I don't offer it. She withdraws gracefully, folding her hands in her lap instead. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I can imagine. She pauses while the waiter takes our drink orders, then continues. I've been hearing things about your project in the Maldives. People are talking about it, asking questions. I wanted to hear the truth directly from you. So this is her strategy. Pretend concern, gather information, find angles to undermine or control. I've watched her do this my entire life. What do you want to know? Is it real, this resort? She's trying to sound curious rather than skeptical, but I hear the doubt underneath. Very real. We break ground in 2 weeks. And the money, your father said you used grandmother's trust fund, but $10 million, Elena. Where did the rest come from? An investor who believes in the project, who believes in us. I don't elaborate. I don't owe her details. Margaret is quiet for a moment, studying me with an expression I can't quite read. I suppose I should say I'm proud of you. That's what Patricia Rothschild told me I should be feeling. Half the club has been telling me what an accomplished daughter I have. But you're not proud. I don't know what I am. She sighs, and for a moment she looks older than her 60 years. Elena, this has gotten out of hand. The tension between us, the public nature of everything. I thought perhaps we could find a way to move past it. If your project is as successful as you claim, perhaps we could attend your wedding after all. Show our support. There it is, the real reason for this lunch. She wants back in now that I might be successful, now that being associated with me might not be embarrassing anymore. I reach into my bag and pull out the folder I prepared last night. Inside are printed copies of the photographs from their attic. I slide it across the table. Before we discuss reconciliation, I think you should look at these. Margaret opens the folder, and I watch the color drain from her face as she sees the first image. Her younger self in that waitress uniform smiling at the camera with exhausted hope. She flips through the photos slowly, the trailer, my father in his work boots, the two of them poor and in love. Then she reaches the letters and her hands start to shake. Where did you get these? Her voice is barely a whisper. Your attic. The box labeled R&M 1985 to 1990. I found them when I collected my things from the house. She's reading her mother-in-law's words, the letters disowning my father for marrying beneath his station, calling my mother that waitress girl. Her face has gone pale, but she keeps reading as if compelled. When she reaches the letter from her own parents rejecting her pregnancy, I see tears gathering in her eyes. That was different, she says, finally closing the folder with shaking hands. We were young. We didn't know better, but we worked hard, Elena. Your father built himself up from nothing. We earned our place. And Daniel isn't building himself up. I keep my voice level, though anger is rising in my chest. He's designing a $10 million resort. He's creating something remarkable. The only difference is you forgot where you came from. You became exactly what hurt you. That's not fair. She's defensive now, the tears evaporating. We wanted better for you. We didn't want you to struggle like we did. No, You wanted me to marry someone whose family already had money, so you'd never have to remember being poor. You wanted me to erase your past by making different choices. I lean forward. But here's what you don't understand. I'm not ashamed of struggling. I'm not ashamed of building something from nothing. You taught me that shame, and I'm done carrying it. Margaret stares at me, and something in her expression cracks. I'm terrified, she admits quietly. Every day I'm terrified of being that girl again. The one in the waitress uniform who wasn't good enough for anyone's family. That's why I care so much about appearances, about status, about who you marry. Because if I stop caring, if I let my guard down, I might wake up back in that trailer. It's the most honest thing she's ever said to me, and for a moment I feel something like compassion. But then I remember the live stream, the torn invitation, the thousands of strangers who saw her perform grief over my choices. I understand that fear, I say, but you let it turn you into the people who hurt you. You did to me exactly what your parents did to you, and you did it publicly, cruelly for entertainment. I did what I thought was right. She's not apologizing, I realize. She's explaining, justifying, but not apologizing. I was trying to wake you up before you made a mistake. I stand gathering the folder of photographs. I didn't show you these to hurt you. I showed you so you'd understand something important. I know exactly who you are. I know where you came from and what you became. And I'm nothing like you. I turn to leave, but her voice stops me. Elena, wait. I pause but don't turn around. What do you want from me? She asks, and she sounds genuinely confused. An apology. My blessing. What would it take for us to fix this? I look back at her. Then this woman who gave birth to me but never really saw me, who loved me conditionally and wondered why I couldn't meet the conditions. I don't want anything from you anymore, Mother. That's what you don't understand. I spent 35 years wanting your approval, your pride, your love given freely the way you gave it to Sophia. I'm done wanting. I'm building a life that doesn't require your participation. You can't mean that. I do. I drop a 20 on the table for my untouched coffee. Enjoy your lunch. I walk out of the restaurant into afternoon sunshine, and I don't look back. Behind me, I hear her say my name one more time, but I keep walking. My hands are steady. My eyes are dry. The folder of photographs is back in my bag, evidence I needed her to see but not to keep. She knows now. She knows I understand exactly who she is and what she did. She knows her past isn't buried as deeply as she thought. And she knows I'm walking away anyway. The lunch with my mother fades into the background as the project consumes us completely. 6 months into construction, the resort is taking shape exactly as Daniel envisioned. 4 villas are framed, the main pavilion's foundation is poured, and the solar infrastructure is being installed. We video call with the site manager every morning, review progress photos every evening, and fall asleep with laptops still open on the bed. Our wedding is planned for the resort's opening celebration 8 months away. Everything is on schedule, on budget, on track. Until it isn't. The email arrives on a Tuesday morning from our site manager in the Maldives. Subject line, urgent. Permit issue. My stomach drops before I even open it. The Maldives Environmental Protection Agency has raised concerns about our coastal impact assessment. They're questioning whether our construction methods adequately protect the coral reef system. Work must halt immediately until we commission an independent environmental study and potentially modify our construction approach. The email includes an estimate $2 million for the study, the modifications, and the delay costs. I call Daniel immediately. He's already read the email, already researching environmental consultants, his voice tight with stress. This doesn't make sense, he says. We passed every environmental review. We exceeded every standard. Our coral restoration program is more comprehensive than anything required by law. Could it be legitimate? I ask, though something in my gut says otherwise. It could be, or it could be Ocean Pearl Resort trying to eliminate competition before we open. Ocean Pearl is the established luxury resort on the neighboring island, the one that's dominated this section of the Maldives market for 15 years. We've heard rumors they're not happy about Rivera Walsh. We spend the next week making calls, reviewing documents, trying to understand what's really happening. Catherine connects us with an environmental law specialist who confirms our suspicion the complaint was initiated by a third party with financial interest in delaying or stopping our project. Almost certainly Ocean Pearl. But legitimate or not, we have to address it. The Maldives government can't ignore official complaints, even politically motivated ones. The environmental study alone will cost $800,000. Modifying our construction methods to address the concerns, even though our current methods are already exemplary, will cost another $900,000. Legal fees, consultant fees, delay costs for contractors who are sitting idle. The total comes to $2.1 million we don't have. Our project account has $45,000 remaining. Catherine's $8 million is fully deployed in construction already underway. My inheritance is gone. Daniel's company accounts are empty, everything invested here. We approach 3 banks about bridge loans. All 3 decline. First-time developers, they say. Unproven track record. Too risky, especially with a permit challenge pending. The tension between Daniel and me, which has been building slowly under the pressure, finally erupts one night in my apartment. We're reviewing the numbers for the 100th time, searching for solutions that don't exist, when Daniel slams his laptop closed. "This is my fault," he says. "I talked you into investing everything you had in my designs. Your grandmother's money gone, and for what, a half-built resort we can't finish." "Don't do that," I say. "This was my choice. Our choice." "Was it? Or did I seduce you with pretty renderings and promises I can't keep?" His voice is harsh with self-recrimination. "Your family was right about me. I'm a contractor who got in over his head." "Stop it." I'm angry now, not at the situation, but at him for echoing my family's words. "You're the architect who designed something revolutionary. This permit issue isn't about your work. It's about competition trying to stop us." "Then let me call Catherine, ask her for more investment. She believes in this project." "She's already at her maximum investment capacity. She told us that. We can't ask her to risk more. So we just let it die." Daniel is pacing now, running his hands through his hair. "Watch everything we've built get dismantled because we're $2 million short. I don't know." The words come out louder than I intended. "I don't have the answers, Daniel. I invested everything I had. I believed in us, but I can't manufacture money that doesn't exist." We stare at each other across the small apartment, and for the first time since we started this journey together, I see doubt in his eyes. Not doubt about the project, but about us. About whether we can survive this kind of pressure. "I need air," he says, grabbing his jacket. He's gone before I can respond. I sit in the silence of my apartment, looking at the numbers that don't add up and feel the weight of everything that's at stake. If this project fails, I lose my inheritance, yes. But more than that, I lose the proof that I was right. My family gets to say they knew all along that Daniel and I were delusional. Sophia's smug certainty is vindicated. My mother's public humiliation of me becomes justified in retrospect. Everything I've built, everything I've claimed collapses into the pipe dream my father called it. The next morning, I fly to the Maldives alone. Daniel and I haven't spoken since his walk. I need to see the site, need to understand what we're fighting for. The resort is beautiful, even half-finished. The villas that are framed look like they're growing organically from the island. The main pavilion, though still under construction, already shows the elegant integration of Daniel's vision. This isn't a pipe dream. This is real, and it's extraordinary. I sit on the beach as the sun sets, staring at the paused construction, at the equipment sitting idle, at the dream that's slipping through our fingers. My phone rings, startling me from my thoughts. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. An automated voice, efficient and emotionless. "This is a notification from Maldives International Bank. Wire transfer received to account ending in 7432. Amount $2 million. Sender anonymous. Current account balance $2,045,000. For questions about this transfer, please contact your account manager." The phone nearly slips from my hands. I play the message again, certain I misheard. but the numbers are the same. $2 million. From an anonymous sender. Deposited into our project account. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely dial Daniel's number. He answers on the first ring. Elena, I'm sorry about last night. I shouldn't have. Someone just deposited $2 million in our account. I interrupt. Anonymous wire transfer. $2 million, Daniel. Silence. Then, that's not possible. I just got the notification. It's there. It's real. Who? His voice is breathless. Who would do that? I'm staring at the half-finished resort at the sunset painting, everything gold, and I have no answer. I don't know. Daniel books the next flight to the Maldives. By the time he arrives 16 hours later, I've called the bank 3 times and gotten the same response: the transfer is legitimate, fully cleared, and completely untraceable. The account manager, a patient woman named Priya, walks me through what little information she can provide. The money came from an offshore limited liability company, registered in the Cayman Islands. The transaction was processed through multiple intermediary banks, a deliberate structure designed to ensure anonymity. There are no strings attached, no equity demanded, no loan documents to sign. It's simply there, $2 million dropped into our account like a miracle we didn't pray for. This is legal. I ask Priya for the 3rd time. Completely legal. Anonymous charitable giving or investment through offshore structures is common among high-net-worth individuals who prefer privacy. Whoever sent this clearly knew what they were doing. The paperwork is impeccable. When Daniel arrives at the site exhausted and bewildered, we sit in the unfinished main pavilion and try to make sense of it. Catherine, he suggests. Maybe she found a way to invest more without technically exceeding her limit. I'm already shaking my head. I called her first thing. She swears it wasn't her, and Catherine doesn't lie. She seemed as shocked as we are. Then who? Daniel pulls up the bank notification on his phone, reading it for the 10th time, as if the words might reveal something new. Who do we know with $2 million to spare? Who would help us anonymously? We spend hours making lists, reviewing everyone in our lives. Daniel's contractor friends who believe in his work, but none of them have this kind of money. My design clients who've been supportive, but they're small business owners like me. Catherine's network of sustainable development investors, but she's already reached out to them and none admit to being involved. We call our environmental consultant, thinking maybe the positive press about our coral restoration program attracted an eco-philanthropist. He hasn't heard anything. By evening, we're no closer to an answer, but we have a decision to make. The money is there. We can resume construction. The question is whether we should. What if it's a mistake? Daniel asks. What if someone wired it to the wrong account and they'll want it back? The bank confirmed the account number 3 times. This wasn't an error. Then what if there are strings we don't know about yet? What if someone expects something in return? I understand his caution. We've built this partnership on transparency and equal footing. Anonymous money feels like a debt. We can't repay an obligation we can't see. But I also understand something else: we're out of options. Without this money, the project dies. With it, we have a chance. We commission that environmental study, I decide. We do everything the government is asking for and more. We make our resort even better than it already is. And if whoever sent this money ever reveals themselves, we'll deal with it then. Daniel searches my face, then nods. Okay, let's do this right. We hire the best environmental consultancy in the region, a firm from Singapore, with an impeccable reputation. They spend 3 weeks studying our site, our construction methods, our impact on the marine ecosystem. Their report is exhaustive and, to our relief and vindication, laudatory. Our current methods are not just adequate, but exemplary. However, they suggest several improvements that would make our project the gold standard for sustainable resort development in the Maldives. We implement every single recommendation, even the ones that aren't required. The modifications cost exactly what we estimated, but the anonymous money covers it all. Construction resumes. The contractors return. Daniel works with the environmental team to integrate the improvements, and somehow the resort becomes even more beautiful in the process. The coral restoration program expands, the water filtration system becomes more efficient, the waste management infrastructure sets new standards. The positive press starts almost immediately. Maldives. Today runs a feature Unknown Benefactor Saves Eco-Resort Raises Environmental Bar. International architecture blogs pick up the story. The narrative is irresistible. Mysterious donor believes in sustainable luxury, helps young developers overcome sabotage by established competition. Project emerges stronger and more innovative than before. We get inquiries from ecotourism organizations, from sustainability advocates, from travel writers who want to cover our opening. Catherine calls with congratulations and curiosity. Whoever your guardian angel is, they have exquisite timing and excellent judgment. But Elena, aren't you dying to know? Every minute of every day, I admit. But the bank won't tell us anything more than they already have. Maybe they'll reveal themselves eventually. Maybe they want to see if you succeed first. That thought lodges in my mind and won't leave. Someone is watching us, believing in us, helping from the shadows. Someone who has the resources to wire $2 million without blinking. Someone who cares whether this project succeeds. I review everyone we know again and again, searching for someone who fits that profile. No one does. Late one night, 3 weeks after the mysterious deposit, I'm in my apartment reviewing the bank documents one more time. Daniel is asleep beside me, finally resting after weeks of 18-hour days. I'm looking at the wire transfer details when something catches my eye that I missed before. The timestamp. The money was wired on a Tuesday afternoon Eastern Standard Time. I pull up my calendar and feel my heart start to race. That was the same day I had lunch with my mother. The same day I showed her those photographs from the attic. More than that, looking at the exact time it was processed within hours of that meeting. I stare at the date, my mind spinning through impossible possibilities. The money came from the Cayman Islands, where wealthy people hide assets from taxes and scrutiny. My parents have money, but they've never seemed wealthy enough to spare $2 million. Unless they've been hiding more than I knew. Unless seeing those photographs, being confronted with their own past, triggered something I didn't anticipate. But that's impossible. My mother walked away from that lunch defensive and unrepentant. My father has never shown the slightest hint of regret. They've made it abundantly clear they think this project is a pipe dream. Haven't they? I pick up my phone and call Daniel, even though he's right beside me. He wakes confused, and I show him the date on the document. "What am I looking at?" he asks, squinting at the screen. "The wire transfer date. It was the same day I met my mother for lunch. The day I showed her the photographs." Daniel sits up, suddenly alert. "You think she sent the money?" "I don't know. It seems impossible, but—" I trail off, not sure how to articulate the feeling growing in my chest. What if she saw herself in those photos and couldn't live with becoming her parents? What if showing her that truth changed something? "Elena." Daniel's voice is careful. "Your mother live-streamed herself tearing your invitation. She publicly humiliated you. Why would she then secretly save your project?" "I don't know," I admit. "But what if it's family?" The question of whether my family sent the anonymous money haunts me, but we have no way to prove it and no time to investigate further. Construction is moving forward, the resort is taking shape, and we have another secret to manage. One we've been keeping for 6 months, one that changes everything about the narrative my family thinks they understand. Daniel and I are already married. It happened the week after my mother's viral video in the chaotic days, when we were still reeling from the public humiliation and making the decision to invest everything in the Maldives project. We were in my apartment, surrounded by legal documents and partnership agreements, when Daniel suddenly stopped mid-sentence and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. "Marry me," he said. "Right now, tomorrow, this week." I thought he was being romantic, trying to counteract the pain of my family's rejection with a grand gesture. "Daniel, we're already planning the wedding at the resort. We can wait." "No, I mean legally. at the courthouse, before we sign these business documents. He took my hands and I could feel them trembling slightly. Elena, we're about to risk everything on this project. If something happens to me during construction, if there's an accident or a complication, I want you protected. Legally protected as my spouse, not just as a business partner who could get tangled in probate and litigation. The practicality of it struck me as deeply romantic in a way flowers and declarations never could. This was Daniel thinking about my security, my protection, my future, even in his hypothetical absence. You're serious. Completely serious. I'm going to be flying back and forth to the Maldives, working on construction sites, taking risks. I need to know that if anything happens, you're legally protected, that everything we're building goes to you automatically, no questions asked. We went to the courthouse 3 days later on a Thursday morning. No guests, no photographer, no announcement. Just the two of us, a clerk, and 2 strangers pulled from the hallway to serve as witnesses. I wore jeans and a simple blouse. Daniel wore the shirt he'd thrown on that morning. We said our vows in a fluorescent-lit room that smelled like old paper and floor wax. When the clerk pronounced us married and Daniel kissed me, one of our random witnesses applauded awkwardly. We signed the marriage certificate, received our official copies, and walked out into the parking lot as husband and wife. The whole thing took 27 minutes. Should we tell people? I asked as we sat in his truck marriage license between us on the console. Daniel was quiet for a moment. What do you think? I thought about my parents, about how they'd use this information, how they'd say we rushed into it, how they'd find ways to diminish it, how they'd interfere if they knew. No, I decided. Let's keep this private, between us. And the Maldives ceremony. That's our celebration, the public moment. But what we just did, this is real. This is ours. They don't get to be part of this. So we kept it secret. We told no one, not even Catherine. When people asked about the wedding, we talked about the Maldives ceremony without technically lying. We were planning a celebration at the resort. We were having a ceremony on the beach. All true. We just never explicitly called it the wedding in any official documentation because legally we were already married. The secret felt powerful. While my mother performed grief over my upcoming inappropriate marriage, I was already legally bound to Daniel. While my father called our plans a pipe dream, we'd already made the commitment he thought we were too foolish to make. While Sophia shared posts about family and judgment, I was already someone's wife, already building a legal partnership my family couldn't touch. Now, 6 months later, with the Maldives ceremony approaching and construction back on track, Daniel and I discuss whether it's time to reveal the truth. Your mother keeps texting me, he says, showing me his phone. She wants to know if we'll allow her and your father to attend the ceremony as a peace offering. She's been hearing about the resort's press coverage. She wants back in. I read the message, noting the careful language. Not an apology, just a strategic repositioning now that we might be successful. What do you want to do? I want to tell her we got married 6 months ago, and she missed it entirely because she was too busy tearing up invitations. There's an edge to his voice I rarely hear. I want her to know that everything she tried to stop already happened without her. We could, I say slowly, or we could wait. Let them come to the Maldives ceremony thinking they're attending our wedding. Let them think they still have time to interfere, to judge, to control the narrative. And then afterwards reveal that they witnessed a vow renewal, not a wedding. That we've been married all along. Daniel considers this, a slow smile spreading across his face. You want maximum impact. I want them to understand they never had the power they thought they had. That while they were performing their disapproval, we were already building our life together. Legally, financially, completely. It's perfect, Daniel admits. Cold, but perfect. Is it cold, or is it just refusing to let them rewrite our story? I pull out my laptop where I've kept scanned copies of important documents. We frame the Maldives event as a celebration in all our planning materials. Never call it a wedding explicitly. Technically, we're not lying. Technically, Daniel agrees. And when do we tell them the truth? After. When they can't do anything about it except face the fact that they were irrelevant to our most important decision. That afternoon, I visit my bank and access my safe deposit box for the first time in months. Inside are the documents I've been collecting, the evidence I've been saving. My grandmother's trust fund paperwork showing where I got the money they think I wasted. The photographs from my parents' attic proving their hypocrisy. And now I add our marriage certificate dated 6 months ago, proof that they couldn't stop us because we were already committed. 3 pieces of ammunition. 3 truths they don't know I'm holding. I arrange them carefully in the box, these fragments of our story that will eventually tell a larger truth. The trust documents show I had resources they never controlled. The photographs show they became what they hated. The marriage certificate shows they were too late to matter. I close the safe deposit box and whisper to the locked drawer to the secrets it holds to the future moment when these pieces will finally come together. When the time comes, these will tell the story I need them to tell. The safe deposit box holds my secrets, but the world is starting to learn our story. 9 months into construction, the Rivera Walsh Maldives Eco Resort is 80% complete, and it's more beautiful than even Daniel's renderings promised. The villas rise from the turquoise water like sculptures. The main pavilion glows at sunset, like something from a dream, and the coral restoration project is already showing measurable results. Our environmental consultant calls it a triumph of sustainable design. The Maldives Tourism Board is using us as their showcase for responsible development. Then the press attention begins. Architectural Digest contacts us first, wanting to feature the resort in their Future of Sustainable Luxury issue. Then Condé Nast Traveler, then Dezeen, then a cascade of international design and travel publications. They all want the same story: young developers building revolutionary eco-resort, overcoming sabotage by established competition, creating new standards for the industry. They send photographers who capture the resort at golden hour, journalists who interview Daniel about his design philosophy, writers who position Rivera Walsh as the most anticipated eco-luxury opening of the year. Our faces appear in magazines I used to buy at airport bookstores. Daniel explaining his reclaimed materials philosophy to Wallpaper magazine. Me discussing the business model to Forbes. Both of us standing on our beach in Architectural Review, the resort rising behind us looking like exactly what we are, people who bet everything and won. The morning the Architectural Digest feature goes live online, my phone starts buzzing before I'm fully awake. Text messages, emails, social media notifications. Patricia Rothschild sends congratulations. Catherine sends champagne. Former clients I haven't heard from in years reach out with praise. The architectural community that once knew me only for small projects now sees me as someone building something significant. Then, buried in the flood of messages, I see one that makes my stomach tighten. My mother. The first direct contact in 8 months since our lunch where I showed her the photographs. Darling, we should talk. Perhaps we were hasty in our initial reaction to your plans. Call me when you can. I stare at the message, reading it 3 times. Darling. She hasn't called me that since I was a child. We should talk. As if the silence between us was mutual, as if she didn't create it. Perhaps we were hasty. Not we were wrong or were sorry, just an acknowledgement that their timing was off. Before I can process this, my phone rings. Sophia. I almost don't answer, but curiosity wins. Elena? Her voice is careful testing. I saw the Architectural Digest piece. It's really impressive. The resort looks incredible. Thank you. I keep my voice neutral, waiting for the real reason she's calling. Mom and Dad saw it too. They've been talking about it a lot lately. About you. About the wedding. She pauses. They're asking questions. About when it is, where exactly, whether there's still time to. Elena, I think they want to come. They're reconsidering. There it is. Not reconciliation for its own sake, but repositioning now that being associated with me might not be embarrassing. Now that my pipe dream is being featured in international magazines. Now that people they know are asking questions they can't answer. Reconsidering, I repeat flatly. They made a mistake. They can see that now. I think if you reached out, if you extended an olive branch, they'd be receptive. Sophia sounds like she's been coached, like she's delivering a message someone else wrote. Family is important, Elena. Maybe it's time to move past all this and... Did they ask you to call me? Silence. Then quietly, Dad suggested I should check in with you, see where things stand. I hang up without responding. My hands are shaking not with sadness, but with a rage so pure it feels clarifying. They're sending Sophia to feel out whether I'm open to reconciliation now that I'm successful. Now that being my parent might reflect well on them instead of embarrassing them. 2 days later, a formal letter arrives at my apartment. Heavy cream stationery, my father's law firm letterhead. I open it standing in my kitchen, and the words are exactly what I expected. Dear Elena, in light of your evident business success and the positive press attention your resort has received, your mother and I have reconsidered our position regarding your upcoming wedding celebration. We would like to attend if you're amenable. We believe it's time to put past disagreements behind us and move forward as a family. Please let us know the details at your earliest convenience. Regards, Robert Walsh. In light of your evident business success. That's the phrase that does it, that crystallizes everything about who they are. Not we were wrong about Daniel, not we regret hurting you. Just an acknowledgement that my success makes me worth associating with again. I take screenshots of everything. My mother's text with its careful language. The timestamp showing 8 months of silence before this overture. My father's formal letter with its transactional tone. I arrange them in a folder on my laptop, a progression from rejection to sudden interest evidence of exactly what changed and why. Then I call Daniel. He's at the construction site overseeing final installations, but he answers immediately. They want in, I tell him without preamble. All of them. My mother texted Sophia, called my father, sent a formal letter. They want to attend the ceremony now that we're getting international press. Of course they do. His voice is tight with controlled anger. What do you want to do? I think about the marriage certificate in the safe deposit box, about the ceremony they think will be our wedding, but is actually just a celebration of vows we already took. I think about my mother's live stream, about the torn invitation, about 35 years of being not quite good enough. I think about Catherine's words, build something so beautiful they can't look away. We've built it. They're looking, and now they want to claim they supported us all along. I know exactly what to do, I say. That evening, I compose my response to my mother's text. I write and delete several versions, searching for the right tone. Too angry seems petty. Too accommodating seems weak. I need something that's truthful and final and completely clear. Finally, I type, "Sorry, Mom. The ceremony is intimate. No seats left." I stare at the message for a long moment. Then I add the laughing emoji, the same one she used when she was tearing up my invitation, the same one that said, "This is how little your choices matter to me." I hit send before I can second-guess myself. Daniel reads it over my shoulder. You know that'll go viral again, right? Someone will screenshot this. It'll be all over social media within days. I look up at him, and I feel that cold smile return, the one that's become my armor. I'm counting on it. My phone buzzes almost immediately. My mother calling. I decline. She calls again. I decline again. Then a text. Elena, don't be childish. We're trying to make amends. I don't respond. I'm done explaining myself to people who only value me when it's convenient for them. Done justifying my boundaries to a family that never respected them. Done caring what they think. The next morning, just as Daniel predicted, the screenshot appears online. Someone in my mother's social circle captured our text exchange and shared it, probably thinking it made me look ungrateful. The caption reads, "After all her parents did for her, this is how Elena Walsh treats them." But the comments tell a different story. The screenshot spreads faster than I anticipated. Within 6 hours, it's been shared thousands of times. But it doesn't spread the way my mother's friend intended. Someone I never learn who takes that original screenshot and creates a thread that tells the complete story. They start with my mother's live stream from 8 months ago, the one where she tears my invitation and calls my wedding trash. Then they add the Architectural Digest feature about Rivera Walsh Resort, the photos of our stunning eco-luxury development, the quotes from environmental organizations praising our work. Finally, they include my response, "Sorry, Mom, the ceremony is intimate, no seats left," with that laughing emoji. The caption reads, "Remember the mom who publicly shamed her daughter for marrying a handyman? Turns out the daughter and that handyman built a $10 million Maldives resort. Now Mom wants an invitation. This is the ultimate glow-up." The internet loses its mind. Within 24 hours, the thread has 2 million views. Within 48 hours, it's at 7 million and climbing. The comments are overwhelmingly on my side, and they're savage in a way that makes me uncomfortable even as some part of me feels vindicated. This is how you handle toxic parents. Set boundaries and build success. From torn invitation to Maldives resort owner. The character development is incredible. That laughing emoji is chef's kiss. She used the same one the mom used, poetry. Imagine publicly humiliating your daughter and then expecting an invitation when she's successful. The audacity. Not the handyman building a $10 million eco-resort. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear tool belts. The comments go on and on, thousands of them people I'll never meet, weighing in on my family dynamics, taking my side in a battle I never asked to make public. News outlets pick up the story. BuzzFeed writes an article titled, "Daughter Gets Perfect Revenge on Parents Who Shamed Her Wedding." Insider calls it the most satisfying no-seats-left response of all time. Even mainstream media touches it, framing it as a story about toxic family dynamics and the importance of boundaries. My mother tries damage control. She posts on Instagram with a carefully composed photo of herself looking contemplative, caption reading, "There's been a misunderstanding in the media about my relationship with my daughter Elena. I've always been proud of her. Every parent wants their child to be happy and successful. I was simply concerned as any mother would be. I'm thrilled about her resort and wish her nothing but joy in her upcoming celebration." The comments on her post are brutal. "You literally live-streamed yourself tearing up her wedding invitation and calling it trash. Now you're proud. Where was this energy 8 months ago? You tore her invitation on camera. You made your feelings very clear. Don't gaslight us now." The internet doesn't forget Margaret. We have the receipts. My mother deletes the post within 3 hours, but screenshots of it are already circulating with annotations pointing out the contradictions. Someone creates a side-by-side comparison. My mother's original video saying, "Where did I go wrong?" next to her new post claiming she's always been proud. The hypocrisy is stark and undeniable. Then people dig deeper. They find Sophia's post from 8 months ago, the one where she shared my mother's video with the caption, "Family is everything. Sometimes love means tough truths." They resurrect it, share it widely, dissect it in comment threads. The sister threw her under the bus too. This whole family is toxic. Imagine your own sister siding with your parents against you publicly. Ouch! At least we know who the golden child is in this family. Sophia's silence now is deafening. Where's that family is everything energy when your sister actually succeeds? Sophia's social media gets flooded with criticism. Her perfectly curated Instagram of designer outfits and country club brunches becomes a liability. People leave comments on every post. Must be nice having parents who actually support you. How does it feel watching your sister succeed without your family's help? Family is everything except when your sister proves you all wrong, right? She makes her account private within a day, but the damage is done. Their social circle, the one that matters so much to my parents, sees all of it. The people who pitied my mother 8 months ago are now questioning her judgment. The friends who praised Sophia's marriage are now side-eyeing her cruelty. The family reputation my parents spent decades building is crumbling in real time, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. I watch it all unfold from the Maldives, where Daniel and I have flown for final inspections before the opening. We're staying in one of the completed villas, and I sit on the balcony with my phone scrolling through the chaos I didn't create but can't stop. Daniel brings me coffee and sits beside me, reading over my shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asks quietly. I don't know. I set the phone down, looking out at the water that's become so familiar. I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated, something. But I just feel tired. You didn't ask for any of this. The original video, the viral response, none of it. No, but I knew what I was doing when I sent that text. I knew the laughing emoji would set something off. I turned to him. Does that make me as bad as them? Using social media as a weapon? You set a boundary. They're the ones who made it public first. He takes my hand. The internet chose sides. That's not on you. My phone rings, interrupting the moment. Catherine's name on the screen. I answer, expecting congratulations or commentary on the viral situation. Instead, her voice is urgent, concerned. "Elena, are you sitting down?" My stomach drops. What's wrong? "I just got a call from a friend who knows your family. Your mother is at the hospital. She collapsed at home about 2 hours ago. They're running tests now, but Elena, it doesn't look good." The phone nearly slips from my hand. The beautiful view in front of me blurs. What? I don't have details. Just that she's there and your father is with her. I thought you should know. I end the call and stare at Daniel, who's already standing reading my expression. The cold smile I've worn for months vanishes, completely replaced by something I can't name. Fear, guilt. Concern for a woman who hurt me more than anyone else in my life. "My mother's in the hospital," I hear myself say. She collapsed. And despite everything, despite the torn invitations and the viral videos and the 8 months of silence, I feel my carefully constructed walls begin to crack. I call my father's cell phone 3 times. No answer. I call Sophia twice. Voicemail. I'm pacing the villa phone pressed to my ear when Daniel gently takes it from my hands. "They're at the hospital. They're not going to answer right now." His voice is steady, grounding. "What do you want to do?" "What I want is to rewind time, to undo the viral moment, to make my mother's collapse about anything other than the public humiliation she's enduring because of me. What I want is impossible. The ceremony is in 3 days. The resort opens in a week. We have 80 guests arriving tomorrow. We can postpone." "No." The word comes out more forcefully than I intend. "We can't postpone. The vendors, the guests, the press coverage, everything is scheduled. And Daniel, we're already married. This ceremony is a celebration, not a legal necessity. My mother's health crisis doesn't change that." He studies my face. "Are you sure?" I'm not sure of anything except that stopping now feels like letting them win one more time, like proving that even my success must bend to their drama. "I'm sure. We move forward." The next 72 hours pass in a blur of final preparations and unanswered questions about my mother's condition. I learn through a text from a cousin I barely know that she's stable, undergoing tests, that it might be stress-related. The implication hangs unspoken stress from the viral backlash, from the public judgment, from watching her reputation crumble online. But the resort won't wait for family drama to resolve itself. The completion is stunning beyond anything I imagined. 10 villas rise from the turquoise water, connected by wooden walkways that seem to float above the ocean. The main pavilion, with its soaring reclaimed teak ceiling and walls that open completely to the sea, looks like something from an architectural fantasy. The coral restoration project thrives below the surface, visible through the crystal water. Solar panels gleam on every roofline, disguised as design elements. This place is everything Daniel promised it would be: luxury that heals rather than harms, beauty that gives back. Guests arrive the day before the ceremony. Catherine comes first, embracing both of us with tears in her eyes. "You did it," she whispers. "You actually did it." Daniel's family flies in from various cities, his sister and brothers and their children filling the resort with warmth and noise. Patricia Rothschild arrives with 3 colleagues from the design world. Friends I've made over the years, clients who became more the small circle of people who've supported me without conditions. Notably absent my parents, my sister, anyone from the family I was born into. The morning of the ceremony, a team from Architectural Digest arrives to live stream the event. It's my decision made weeks ago when the viral moment was just beginning. If the internet is going to discuss my life anyway, I might as well control the narrative. The live stream will reach thousands, maybe millions. It will be beautiful and deliberate and entirely on my terms. I dress in my villa with Catherine's help. The gown is custom-made from sustainable silk, simple and elegant, designed by an emerging eco-fashion designer I discovered online. It fits like it was grown on my body rather than sewn. Catherine fastens the last button and steps back, her eyes wet. "You look like someone who won," she says softly. "I don't feel like I won anything. I just feel like I survived." Sometimes that's the same thing. The ceremony begins at sunset, that magical hour when the Maldives sky turns gold and pink and purple all at once. Daniel waits for me on the beach wearing a linen suit that makes him look like he belongs to this place. Our 80 guests sit in chairs made from reclaimed wood, the resort glowing behind them. The live stream cameras are discreet but present, capturing everything. I walk down an aisle of white sand and I'm not thinking about my parents or viral videos or hospital rooms. I'm thinking about the moment 3 years ago when Daniel helped me pick up my scattered portfolio when he saw my work and really saw it. I'm thinking about the courthouse wedding 6 months ago, the practical vows that meant everything. I'm thinking about risk and reward and building something worth protecting. We don't exchange new vows since we're already married, but we speak about our partnership, about what we've built together, about the life we're creating. Daniel talks about how I see buildings as alive, how that vision transformed his designs. I talk about how he taught me that broken things can be made whole again without changing what they fundamentally are. When it's time for acknowledgments, I thank Catherine first. To the woman who believed in us when it mattered most, who invested not just money, but faith, who showed me what it looks like to choose love over status and never regret it. Catherine is crying openly now, and half the guests are crying with her. The live stream chat, visible on a screen behind the cameras, floods with heart emojis and comments about found family. I thank Daniel's family for welcoming me without hesitation or judgment. I thank our friends for standing with us. I thank Catherine's name 3 more times in different contexts, making sure everyone watching understands she's the hero of this story, not my biological family. What I don't do, what I very deliberately don't do, is mention my parents or sister even once. Their absence is louder than any words I could say. The live stream viewers notice immediately. Comments flood in, not even a mention of the parents who tore the invitation. The family that rejected her doesn't even get acknowledged. Powerful. This is what grace looks like. She didn't trash them, she just made them invisible. We share our first dance as the sun disappears into the ocean, and the resort's lights come on, making the whole place glow like something enchanted. The live stream has over 30,000 viewers now. The hashtag Rivera Walsh Wedding is trending. Design magazines are sharing screenshots. This moment is being watched around the world, this celebration of a marriage that already existed. This victory my family tried to prevent. I'm smiling, genuinely happy when Catherine approaches during the dance. Her face is pale, her expression urgent. She's holding her phone. "Elena, I need to tell you something." Her voice is low, meant only for me and Daniel. "About the $2 million. About your mother." My smile freezes on my face. The music continues around us, guests laughing and dancing, cameras still rolling, the perfect moment suddenly suspended. "What about her?" Catherine glances at Daniel, then back to me. "The anonymous donation. I know who sent it. I've known for a while, but I promised not to tell unless it became necessary. Elena, it was your mother. She was the one who saved your project." The music continues around us, but I can't hear it anymore. Catherine's words echo in my head, impossible and undeniable at the same time. My mother, the anonymous donor, the $2 million that saved everything. That's not possible, I say, but my voice sounds weak even to me. My mother wanted this project to fail. She called it a pipe dream. She tore up my invitation on camera. Catherine takes my arm, gently steering me away from the dance floor toward a quiet corner of the beach. Daniel follows his hand on my back. The celebration continues behind us guests, unaware that anything has changed, cameras still rolling on our perfect evening. 3 months ago, your mother contacted me through her attorney, Catherine says quietly. She found my name in the architectural articles about the resort, tracked down my office, and had her lawyer reach out. She asked if we could meet privately, just the two of us. My legs feel unsteady. You met with her? You never told me. She made me promise. Absolute confidentiality was her only condition. Catherine pulls out her phone, opening a secure document folder. Elena, she begged me to facilitate an investment in your project. $2 million. She had it in a separate account, an inheritance from her own mother that your father didn't control and didn't know about. I'm shaking my head, trying to make sense of this. Why would she help us secretly while publicly humiliating us? Because she's trapped between who she was and who she became. Because seeing those photographs you showed her at lunch broke something open in her. Catherine hands me her phone. She wrote me a letter explaining everything. I saved it because I knew someday you'd need to see it. I take the phone with trembling hands and read my mother's words, typed formally like a legal document, but raw in a way I've never seen from her. Catherine, I'm writing to you because I don't know who else to turn to. My daughter showed me photographs of my past, of the girl I used to be before I had money, before I had status, before I forgot what it felt like to be rejected by my own family for loving someone deemed inappropriate. I looked at those pictures and I saw Elena. I saw myself at her age, brave enough to choose love over approval, strong enough to build something from nothing. And then I looked at what I've become, and I was horrified. I've turned into my mother-in-law, the woman who disowned my husband for marrying me. I've become my own parents who rejected me when I was pregnant and afraid. I did to Elena exactly what destroyed me, and I can't undo it. I can't take back the video. I can't erase the public humiliation. But I can do this one thing. I can make sure her dream doesn't fail because of my pride. I have $2 million that my mother left me, money Robert doesn't know about because I've kept it separate all these years, terrified he'd lose it or control it the way he controls everything else. I'm asking you to facilitate an anonymous investment in Elena's project. No equity, no strings, no contact. She can never know it came from me. I can't let my pride destroy my daughter's dream the way my parents' pride destroyed mine. This is the only apology I know how to make. The words blur as tears fill my eyes. I read it twice, then a third time, trying to reconcile this vulnerable, self-aware woman with the one who live-streamed herself tearing my invitation. She made me sign confidentiality agreements, Catherine continues. She said if you ever found out, you'd reject the money, and she couldn't live with that. She just wanted you to succeed. That was all. The timing, I say, my voice breaking. The wire came through the same day I showed her those photographs. She called me that afternoon, said she couldn't wait another day, that she needed to do this before she lost her nerve. Catherine takes the phone back, pulling up more documents. Here's the wire transfer authorization. Here's the trust document showing the inheritance from her mother. Here's her attorney's letter confirming everything. Elena, your mother saved your project. While she was publicly maintaining her disapproval, she was privately ensuring you'd have everything you needed to prove her wrong. I stagger backward, and Daniel catches me, holding me steady. My mind is reeling through the timeline. My mother sent that money, then watched me succeed, then tried to reconcile when the resort got press attention. But she never told me about the investment. She was willing to let me hate her as long as the project succeeded. Why didn't she tell me? I ask. When she texted about wanting to attend the wedding, why didn't she explain? Because she's ashamed. Catherine says simply. She knows the public apology she made after the viral backlash was hollow. She knows she hurt you in ways money can't fix. And she knows that if you knew about this investment, you might think she was trying to buy forgiveness. Was she? The question comes out harsh. No, I don't think so. I think she was trying to be the mother she wished she'd had. The one who protected her dreams instead of crushing them. Catherine's voice is gentle. Your mother is deeply flawed, Elena. She's made terrible choices. But this one thing, this investment, it was purely about you. About making sure you had the chance she almost didn't get. I think about the hospital, about my mother collapsing under the weight of public judgment, about the viral moment that's still trending while we stand here on this beach. I think about the $2 million that saved us when we were drowning, about how I assumed it was anyone except her. She saved us, I say, and the tears finally fall. She secretly saved us, and I just humiliated her in front of millions of people. The no seats left text, the laughing emoji, the ceremony where I didn't mention her once. The whole world watched me exclude her, and she never defended herself by revealing she's the reason we're standing here at all. Daniel pulls me against his chest, and I feel his heart beating steady and sure. What do you want to do? I look back at the resort, at the celebration continuing without us, at the cameras still live streaming our perfect evening. I look at Catherine, who's been keeping this secret for months, protecting both my mother and me. I look at my phone where text messages from my cousins say my mother is stable but refusing visitors. I need to see her, I whisper. Now. Tonight. Before I lose my nerve or she refuses or something else happens. The celebration, Daniel starts, is a celebration of a marriage that already happened 6 months ago. These people will understand. I wipe my eyes, straightening my spine. Catherine, can you make an announcement? Tell them we have a family emergency that will return as soon as we can. Of course. I'm already moving toward our villa to change Daniel beside me when Catherine calls out. Elena, for what it's worth, I think your mother would be proud of what you've built. Not just the resort, the person you've become. I don't trust myself to respond. I just nod and keep walking, my beautiful, sustainable silk gown trailing in the sand, my perfect evening dissolving into something more complicated and more real. Behind me, the celebration continues, guests laughing and dancing and taking photos against the backdrop of the resort my mother saved. The resort I built despite her, and because of her. The life that wouldn't exist without both her cruelty and her secret grace. I'm halfway to the villa when Catherine catches up with me, slightly out of breath. Wait, there's one more thing. She's holding a cream-colored envelope, the kind used for formal correspondence, my name written across the front in my mother's precise handwriting. Your mother gave this to me when she made the investment. She said to give it to you only after the wedding ceremony. I was supposed to wait, but given everything that's happened, I think you need to read it now. My hands are shaking as I take the envelope. It's thick, multiple pages inside, sealed with old-fashioned wax. My mother's style, always formal, always proper, even in crisis. Daniel and I sit on the steps of our villa, still in our wedding clothes, the celebration continuing in the distance without us. I break the seal carefully and unfold several sheets of heavy stationery. The letter is dated 3 months ago, the same day the money was wired. My mother's handwriting fills every page, the script more hurried and less controlled than usual, as if she wrote it in one urgent sitting without stopping to edit or reconsider. My dearest Elena. It begins, and I have to pause because she hasn't called me that since I was very young. I'm writing this letter knowing you may never read it, or if you do, you may throw it away unfinished. I wouldn't blame you, but I need to say these things, even if you never hear them, because I'm running out of time to be the mother I should have been 35 years ago. When you showed me those photographs at lunch, when I saw myself in that waitress uniform standing in front of that trailer, I felt like I'd been struck. Not because I'd forgotten that girl I used to be, but because I'd spent 3 decades trying to bury her so deep that no one, including myself, would ever have to see her again. I was ashamed of her. Ashamed of being poor, of being rejected, of not being good enough for anyone's family. and in my shame, I did something unforgivable. I taught you to be ashamed too. Elena, I saw myself in you from the moment you were born. You were the eldest, just like me. You were serious and thoughtful, and you tried so hard to please everyone just like I did. And because you reminded me of everything I'd been running from, I couldn't bear to look at you directly. Every time I saw you struggling for my approval, I saw myself begging my parents to accept Robert, and it made me feel sick. So I turned away. I gave all my attention to Sophia instead. Sophia was younger, prettier, easier somehow. She reminded me of the fresh start I thought I was getting when Robert's business finally succeeded, when we could afford the house and the club membership and the life I'd been denied. Sophia never questioned anything. She did what I asked. She married who I wanted her to marry. She was the daughter I thought I needed to prove I'd escaped my past. But you, Elena, you were the daughter I actually needed. The one who reminded me that strength comes from choosing your own path even when everyone tells you you're wrong. The one who showed me that love matters more than status. You were trying to teach me the lesson I'd forgotten, and instead of listening, I punished you for it. I watched that video of myself tearing your invitation, Elena. I watched it dozens of times after you showed me those photographs. I watched myself become my mother-in-law, the woman who rejected me for marrying beneath my station. I watched myself become my own parents, who told me I'd made my bed and had to lie in it alone. I did to you exactly what destroyed me, and I did it on camera for thousands of people to see. I can't take it back. I can't undo those words or that cruelty. I can't erase the damage I've done to our relationship over 35 years of choosing pride over love. But when Catherine told me your project was in jeopardy, when she explained you needed money to continue, I realized I could do one thing. I could make sure your dream didn't die because of my pride the way mine almost did. The $2 million I'm giving you came from my mother, your grandmother. She left it to me separately from anything Robert controlled because she knew even then that I might need an escape someday. I've kept it hidden all these years, terrified of losing it, terrified of being poor again. But holding on to that money out of fear is just another way of staying trapped in the past. I'm giving it to you with no strings attached because this is the only real apology I know how to make. Not words which I've proven are meaningless coming from me, but action. I'm choosing your dream over my pride. I'm choosing to be the mother my parents never were, the mother-in-law Robert's mother never was. I'm choosing you, Elena, even though I'm doing it too late and in the wrong way, and without the courage to tell you directly. If you're reading this, your wedding has already happened. I don't know if I was there or if you kept the boundaries you set. Either way, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you, even when I was too broken to show it. You built something extraordinary with Daniel, not because of my support, but despite my opposition. That makes it even more remarkable. I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry. For every time I compared you to Sophia, for every achievement I failed to acknowledge, for teaching you that love was conditional when it should have been the one thing you never had to earn, for tearing up your invitation when I should have been honored to receive it, for 35 years of making you feel like you weren't enough when the truth is, I was never enough for you. You deserved better. You deserved a mother who could see past her own wounds to celebrate yours. You deserved me at my best, and I gave you me at my worst. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect reconciliation. I just needed you to know that I see you now. I see your courage, your talent, your strength, your grace. I see the woman you've become despite everything I did to diminish you. And I'm in awe of you, Elena. Truly and completely in awe. Whatever happens next, whatever you decide about me and about us, know this: you were right to choose Daniel. You were right to build this dream. You were right about everything, and I was wrong. I hope that counts for something, even if it's too little too late. With more love than I ever knew how to show Mom. The letter ends there, and I'm clutching it to my chest, sobbing so hard I can barely breathe. Daniel's arms are around me, holding me together as I fall apart. 35 years of trying to make her see me, and she saw me all along. She just couldn't show it. Couldn't get past her own trauma to reach me. Could only express love in this twisted, secret, complicated way. She saved us. I managed between sobs. And she never wanted me to know. She was going to let me hate her as long as I succeeded. Daniel is crying too, I realize. Silent tears running down his face as he holds me. "What do you want to do?" he asks for the second time tonight. I look at the letter at my mother's handwriting covering page after page with words she couldn't say to my face. I think about her in a hospital bed suffering under the weight of viral judgment I helped create. I think about the photographs in her attic, the girl she used to be before fear turned her into someone else. I think about spending 35 years wanting her to see me, and discovering she always did. Now, I whisper, I decide if seeing is enough. I don't visit my mother that night. Daniel and I sit with her letter until dawn breaks over the Maldives, reading it again and again, trying to understand a woman who could hurt so deeply and love so desperately at the same time. By morning, I've made a decision. I need time. Time to process, to grieve, to figure out what forgiveness might look like when it's built on decades of damage and one act of secret grace. I send my mother a message through Catherine. I read your letter. I need time to think. I'm glad you're recovering. It's not forgiveness, but it's not rejection either. It's the truth. Daniel and I return home to launch the resort officially. The opening is covered by every major design and travel publication. Bookings fill 18 months out within a week. Environmental organizations feature us as a model for sustainable tourism. We're successful in ways that feel surreal, building a business that matters while still processing the complicated revelation of how we got here. 3 weeks after the wedding, I'm in my apartment reviewing resort financials when my phone buzzes with a news alert. The headline makes me read it 3 times to believe it's real. Hedge fund manager James Rothstein arrested on securities fraud charges. FBI investigation alleges $12 million embezzlement scheme. James Rothstein, Sophia's husband. The man my parents celebrated as the perfect match, the appropriate choice, the smart marriage that proved Sophia did everything right. I click through to the full article with hands that have gone numb. The details are damning and specific. James systematically embezzled money from his clients' investment accounts over a 4-year period using sophisticated wire transfers to hide the theft. The FBI had been investigating for 18 months. They arrested him yesterday morning at his office. The article includes a photo James in handcuffs being led to a federal vehicle, his expensive suit and perfect hair at odds with the reality of his situation. But it's the next paragraph that makes my stomach drop. Authorities are also investigating James's wife Sophia Rothstein for potential complicity. The couple's lavish lifestyle, including a $3 million home, luxury vehicles, and extensive travel, appears to have been funded at least partially by embezzled funds. Asset forfeiture proceedings are expected if investigators determine Mrs. Rothstein had knowledge of her husband's criminal activities. I keep reading each detail, a small explosion. The $200,000 wedding my parents funded, but the honeymoon to Bora Bora that James paid for with stolen money. The Mercedes Sophia drives, purchased with a wire transfer that originated from a client account. The designer wardrobe, the country club dues, the life my parents held up as the gold standard of appropriate marriage, all potentially built on fraud. My phone rings within minutes. Patricia Rothschild, her voice tight with barely controlled shock. "Elena, have you seen the news about your sister?" "I just read it." "It's all anyone in our circle is talking about. The FBI, Elena. Securities fraud. Your parents must be devastated." Devastated. The word feels inadequate for what my parents must be experiencing. Their golden child, their proof that choosing status over love was the right decision, revealed as either a criminal or the wife of one. Either Sophia knew and helped hide it, making her complicit, Or she didn't know, making her exactly what they feared. I'd become someone married to a man she didn't truly know, trapped in a relationship built on lies. Over the next week, the story dominates local news. More details emerge, each one worse than the last. Sophia had signing authority on several accounts James used for the embezzlement. She made deposits on 3 occasions. Her lawyer insists she had no knowledge the money was stolen, that she trusted her husband completely, but prosecutors are building a case that she should have known that the lifestyle they led was inconsistent with James's legitimate income. The social media response is brutal in its irony. The same people who shared my mother's video about my inappropriate marriage now share articles about Sophia's arrest. Remember when this family was judging Elena for marrying a handyman? At least he's not going to prison. The comments write themselves, imagine choosing status over love and ending up with a felon. The perfect daughter married a criminal while the disappointing one married an honest man. The golden child tarnished. I watch my parents' social circle implode in real time through social media. The friends who consoled my mother about my poor choices now distance themselves from her entirely. The country club where status was everything becomes a minefield of whispered conversations and turned backs. Women who praised Sophia's smart marriage now delete their enthusiastic comments from old posts. The same people who pitied my mother for having a disappointing eldest daughter now pity her for having a potentially criminal youngest daughter. The difference is stark and cruel. Elena's embarrassment was based on prejudice against a good man doing honest work. Sophia's scandal is based on actual crime, actual harm done to real people who lost their retirement savings to fund her luxury lifestyle. My father's business suffers immediate consequences. 2 major clients terminate contracts citing concerns about his judgment and family associations. His law firm partnership faces scrutiny. The reputation he spent decades building crumbles as people question if he couldn't see what was happening in his own family. How can he be trusted with their legal matters? I should feel vindicated. I should feel some satisfaction that karma is real and swift. But sitting in my apartment reading article after article about my sister sobbing in court, about my parents arriving at the courthouse with their faces carefully blank, about federal prosecutors building a case that could send Sophia to prison, I feel nothing. Not triumph, not sympathy, not even anger. Just a hollow emptiness where strong feelings should be. Then my phone rings. Sophia's name on the screen. The first time she's called me directly in over a year. The last time we spoke, she told me not to expect any of them at my wedding, that they didn't want to be associated with my choices. My finger hovers over the answer button. Part of me wants to let it ring through to voicemail to maintain the boundaries I've built, to refuse her now the way she refused me then. But another part of me, the part that read my mother's letter and understood that hurt people, the part that remembers Sophia as a child before she became the weapon our parents wielded against me, that part makes me hesitate. The phone keeps ringing. My finger trembles over the screen. Daniel appears in the doorway, sees my face, understands immediately what's happening. "What are you going to do?" he asks quietly. I look at my phone at my sister's name flashing insistently at this moment that will determine something important about who I've become after everything that's happened. I think about my mother's secret investment, about Catherine's choice to help someone who once rejected her, about the difference between justice and mercy. I answer the call. "Hello, Sophia." The sound that comes through the phone isn't words, just sobbing. Raw, desperate crying that goes on for what feels like minutes. I wait, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my sister fall apart. Daniel sits beside me, close enough that I can feel his warmth but not touching, letting me navigate this moment alone. Finally, Sophia's voice comes through, broken and small. "I knew." "What?" "I knew he was doing something illegal. Not the details, not exactly how or how much, but I knew. The money didn't make sense. His salary was good, but not that good. The house, the cars, the trips, all of it. I asked him once early on where it was all coming from. He said he had investments, that he was good at playing the market. I didn't push. I didn't want to know. I'm gripping the phone so hard my hand aches. Sophia. I wanted Mom and Dad to keep being proud of me. Her voice cracks on the word proud. That's all I've ever wanted. From the time I was old enough to understand that being their daughter came with conditions, I did everything they asked. I dated who they wanted. I dressed how they wanted. I married who they approved of. And they were so proud, Elena. Finally, I was doing something right. Finally, I was the daughter they could brag about. The irony is crushing. While I was fighting for scraps of approval, Sophia was drowning in it, and neither of us was getting what we actually needed. When the FBI came to the house last month, she continues, when they showed me the documents and asked what I knew, I realized I'd traded everything for their approval. My integrity, my safety, my freedom. I'm probably going to prison, Elena. My lawyer says there's enough evidence to prove I should have known, that I was willfully blind, and she's right. I was. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I'm not calling to ask for help or sympathy. I'm calling because I need you to know something. She takes a shuddering breath. I've always envied you. From the time we were kids, I envied your courage. You stood up to them. You chose your own path. You picked love over status, and I thought you were being stupid. But you were being brave. I was the coward. The admission stuns me into silence. All these years I assumed Sophia pitied me, looked down on me, saw me as the family failure. It never occurred to me she might feel something else. I married who they wanted, Sophia says, her voice gaining strength even as it breaks. I married for all the wrong reasons, and look where it got me. Married to a criminal, facing prison time, my face all over the news, and you married for love and you built something extraordinary. You were right about everything and I was so jealous I couldn't stand it. Jealous? I repeat the word, feeling foreign. When you first told me about Daniel, I ran straight to Mom and Dad with every detail. His background, his lack of degree, everything. I told myself I was protecting the family, but I was really trying to protect myself. If you succeeded, if you proved them wrong about needing to marry up, then what did that make my choices? What did that make my marriage? The betrayal I felt when I learned Sophia had shared Daniel's background suddenly has context. It wasn't just loyalty to our parents. It was self-preservation, a desperate attempt to validate her own compromises. I wanted you to fail, Sophia admits, and the honesty is so raw it hurts. If I couldn't be happy, why should you be? So I fed them information. I shared your social media posts with them. I encouraged Mom's viral video even though I knew it was cruel. I told myself I was being a good daughter, but really, I was just trying to drag you down to where I was. I think about Sophia's post 8 months ago, the one that said family is everything. Sometimes love means tough truths. I thought it was sanctimonious judgment. Now I understand it was a life raft, Sophia clinging to the belief that her choices were right, because the alternative that she'd wasted her life trying to please people who couldn't be pleased was too terrible to face. When I saw your wedding, Sophia continues, voice barely a whisper. When I saw how beautiful it was, how happy you looked, how you'd built this incredible resort, despite everything, I realized I'd made all the wrong choices. And then James got arrested. And I understood that you didn't just make better choices. You made the only real choice, the only honest one. You chose yourself and someone who loved you. I chose other people's approval and someone who used me. The line goes quiet except for her breathing. I search for words that might bridge the gap between us, might undo years of competition and resentment and hurt. But before I can find them, Sophia speaks again. You were right, Elena, about everything. About Daniel, about the resort, about living your life on your own terms. I was wrong. Mom and Dad were wrong. And I'm sorry I wasn't the sister you deserved. I'm sorry I chose being the golden child over being your ally. I'm sorry for all of it. Sophia, wait. I have to go. My lawyer's here. I just needed you to know. Before everything gets worse, before I possibly go to prison, I needed you to know that you won. Not because my life fell apart, but because you had the courage to build something real. I hope that counts for something." The line goes dead. I sit staring at my phone, Sophia's words echoing in my head. Daniel is watching me with concern, but I can't quite process what just happened. My sister, my lifelong competitor, the daughter who got everything I wanted, just confessed to sabotaging me out of jealousy and fear. She apologized without asking for forgiveness, acknowledged my success without trying to diminish it, and accepted responsibility without making excuses. "What did she say?" Daniel asks quietly. I look up at him, my eyes wet. "She apologized. After everything, after years of being the perfect daughter and me being the disappointment after watching me get publicly humiliated and participating in it, she actually apologized. Do you believe her?" I think about the raw honesty in her voice, the admission of jealousy and cowardice, the acknowledgement that she'd made terrible choices while I'd made brave ones. "Yes, I think I do." "What are you going to do?" I think about my mother's secret investment, about Catherine's envelope of insurance, about the safe deposit box filled with evidence of hypocrisy and hidden grace. I think about how my family has hurt me and how they're hurting now, how justice and mercy are different things, how the courage Sophia envied isn't just about choosing love over status, but about choosing to be better than the people who hurt you. "Something they never did for me," I say, standing up and reaching for my keys. "Show up." Daniel stands with me. "Where are we going?" "To see my sister. Before her world completely falls apart. Before she faces whatever's coming. Because that's what family should do, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." I look at him, this man my parents called nobody. This man who taught me that broken things can be made whole without changing what they fundamentally are. "Will you come with me?" He takes my hand. "Always." Daniel and I visit Sophia that afternoon at her lawyer's office, the only place she feels safe meeting anyone. She looks smaller than I remember her carefully maintained appearance, crumbling under the weight of criminal charges and public shame. We don't talk about forgiveness or reconciliation. We just sit with her for 2 hours while her lawyer reviews documents, and when we leave, I hug her for the first time in years. She holds on like I'm the only solid thing in her collapsing world. The gesture doesn't fix anything, but it matters. Daniel and I return to the Maldives 2 days later to manage the resort's opening month operations. Bookings are exceeding projections. Environmental groups are requesting site visits. Everything we built is thriving, growing, becoming more than we imagined. The success should feel pure, but it's complicated by my family's unraveling back home. 3 weeks after Sophia's call, I'm reviewing vendor contracts on the resort's main pavilion deck when our site manager approaches with an uncertain expression. "Ms. Walsh, there's someone here to see you." "He says he's your father. I told him you were working, but he says he'll wait as long as necessary." My first instinct is to send him away. But curiosity wins, or maybe it's something deeper. Something about needing to see how this man who shaped so much of my pain is handling the consequences of his choices. Where is he? Beach, near Villa 3. I find my father sitting on the sand staring at the ocean. He's wearing khakis and a polo shirt, clothes I've never seen him in his usual suits, abandoned for something that looks almost humble. When he turns at the sound of my approach, I'm shocked by how much he's aged. His face is gaunt, new lines carved deep around his eyes and mouth. His hair, always meticulously styled, is grayer and unkempt. This is not the imposing patriarch who tore up my invitation. This is an old man who looks defeated. "Elena." He stands awkwardly, unsure whether to approach or keep his distance. "Thank you for seeing me. I haven't decided if I'm seeing you or just assessing whether to have you escorted off the property." My voice is cooler than I feel. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see it. What you built, what I said was impossible." He gestures at the resort behind me, the villas rising from the water, the main pavilion with its soaring, reclaimed wood ceilings. I needed to see if it was as remarkable as the magazines say. And it's more. His voice cracks slightly. It's extraordinary, Elena. Everything about it. The design, the sustainability, the vision. You and Daniel created something that will change how people think about luxury and responsibility. I can see that now. I should feel vindicated, but instead, I just feel tired. You flew halfway around the world to tell me my pipe dream isn't a pipe dream. I flew halfway around the world to tell you I was wrong. He sits back down heavily, and after a moment, I sit too, maintaining distance between us. My business is falling apart. 2 major clients terminated their contracts last month. They cited moral concerns, said my judgment is questionable if I couldn't see what was happening in my own family. 3 more are reviewing their relationships with my firm. I've lost $5 million in business, and it's probably going to get worse. I'm sorry that's happening, I say, and mean it despite everything. Don't be. It's what I deserve. He picks up a handful of sand, letting it run through his fingers. I built everything from nothing, Elena. Worked construction, put myself through night school, clawed my way up from poverty. And I was so terrified of going back to nothing that I made everything about money, status, appearances. I measured every relationship, every decision, every person by what they could do for my position in the world. I know, I lived it. I taught Sophia those values. I praised her for marrying James because he came from the right family, had the right credentials, fit the image I wanted to project. And look what happened to her. She married a criminal because I taught her that pedigree mattered more than character. She's facing prison time because she learned from me that maintaining status was worth sacrificing integrity. The admission hangs between us raw and ugly. My father has never been someone who acknowledges mistakes, who admits fault. Seeing him do it now is disorienting. And you, he continues. I dismissed you, belittled your choices publicly, humiliated you because Daniel didn't fit my narrow definition of success. I was so busy protecting my image that I destroyed my relationship with my daughter. I taught you that my love had conditions, that you had to earn approval by meeting my standards. What kind of father does that? The kind who's afraid, I say quietly. The kind who never processed his own rejection and trauma, so he inflicted it on his children instead. He looks at me sharply. Your mother told me you found the photographs, that you know about our past. I know you were disowned for marrying her. I know you lived in a trailer and worked construction. I know you experienced exactly what you put me through, and you did it to me anyway. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if you married well, you'd never have to struggle like we did. I thought status and money would shield you from pain. He laughs bitterly. Instead, I became the source of your pain. I became my mother, the woman who cut me off for loving someone she deemed unworthy. We sit in silence, watching the water. A part of me wants to tell him it's okay, that I forgive him, that we can rebuild something. But another part, the part that carried 35 years of not being enough, can't offer that yet. You won, Elena, he says finally. You proved me wrong about everything. About Daniel, about your choices, about what matters in life. You won. The words ignite something sharp in my chest. This was never about winning. It was about surviving you. Surviving a childhood where love was conditional, where nothing I did was good enough, where I was constantly measured against an impossible standard and found lacking. I didn't build this resort to prove you wrong. I built it to prove to myself that I could create something beautiful, despite you. He flinches, but doesn't argue. After a long moment, he reaches into his wallet and pulls out a piece of paper carefully folded. He unfolds it with shaking hands, and I recognize it immediately. My wedding invitation torn into pieces, taped back together with yellowed tape. I carry this with me, he says, every day, to remember what I destroyed that day. Not just paper, not just an invitation, but trust and love and any chance I had at being the father you deserved. I stare at the reconstructed invitation, at the tape holding the pieces together, and I'm back in my car 8 months ago, doing the same thing with my own copy, whispering that they would watch. They have watched. They've watched me succeed beyond their imagination and watched their own world crumble in the process. You destroyed more than paper that day, I say, taking the invitation from his hands. The tape is old brittle, like he's unfolded and refolded it many times. You destroyed the possibility of being part of this, of being part of my life in any meaningful way. You tore this up in front of me and threw it away, and that choice has consequences. He nods, tears tracking down his weathered face. I know. I just needed you to know I understand what I did, and that I'm sorry, even if sorry isn't enough. My father leaves the resort that afternoon, and I don't know when or if I'll see him again. The torn invitation stays with me, a relic of destruction that somehow became a talisman of survival. Daniel and I remain in the Maldives for another week before flying home to handle business matters and check on Sophia, whose legal situation grows more complicated by the day. We land on a Tuesday evening exhausted from travel and find a message from an attorney's office I don't recognize waiting in my voicemail. Ms. Walsh, this is Gerald Pemberton from Pemberton and Associates. I'm contacting you regarding your grandmother Eleanor Walsh's estate. There's been a triggering event that requires your immediate attention. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Eleanor Walsh was my father's mother, the woman who wrote those letters, disowning him, who died when I was 25. I assumed her estate was settled a decade ago. I call the number the next morning, curious and confused. Mr. Pemberton answers on the second ring, his voice warm and professional. Ms. Walsh, thank you for calling back so promptly. I have some rather extraordinary news. Your grandmother's irrevocable trust included a secondary provision that has just been triggered by your marriage. I don't understand. I received money from her trust when I turned 25. I thought that was everything. That was the first distribution. Your grandmother structured her trust with 2 release points. The first, $250,000 at age 25. The second, $3 million upon your legal marriage. You married 6 months ago, and while there was some delay in receiving the marriage certificate through proper channels, the trust has now released the secondary distribution. The number doesn't make sense. $3 million. There must be a mistake. Why would she structure it that way? I have a letter she wrote to be delivered with the second distribution. Would you like me to read it to you, or would you prefer to receive it in person? Read it, please. I hear papers rustling, then Mr. Pemberton's voice takes on the cadence of reading someone else's words. My dear Elena, if you are hearing this, you have married and I am long gone. I hope your marriage is based on love rather than obligation, on partnership rather than status. I structured this trust to protect you in 2 stages because I knew what my son would become. I knew Robert would be so terrified of returning to poverty that he would make money and status his gods. I knew because I watched my husband do the same thing, and I failed to stop it. I failed my son by teaching him that appearances mattered more than character. But I will not fail you. The first distribution at 25 was meant to give you independence, to ensure you could build a life separate from your parents' control and expectations. This second distribution, triggered by marriage, is meant to give you freedom. Freedom to build something extraordinary. Freedom to chase dreams that others call impossible. Freedom to live a life that isn't diminished by their narrow definitions of success. Elena. I see how they overlook you. I see how they favor Sophia. I see your father repeat the patterns that damaged him, and I cannot change him, but I can protect you from him. You remind me of myself before I married into the Walsh family, before I learned to value the wrong things. You are the strong one, the one everyone takes for granted because your strength doesn't demand attention. This money is my apology for the grandmother I should have been and wasn't. For not standing up to my husband when he taught Robert toxic values. For dying before I could tell you directly that you are enough exactly as you are. Be free, my darling girl. Build something beautiful. Love someone worthy. Live the life I wish I'd had the courage to live. With all the love I never knew how to show your grandmother Eleanor. I'm crying before he finishes, sitting in my apartment with the phone pressed to my ear, understanding flooding through me. My grandmother saw it all, saw her son becoming his father, saw me being overlooked, saw Sophia being favored. and she built a structure to protect me at every stage. 250,000 at 25 enough to build independence. 3 million upon marriage enough to build an empire. She designed my escape before I knew I needed one. Ms. Walsh, are you still there? I'm here. When can I receive the funds? The wire transfer can be initiated immediately. There are documents you'll need to sign, of course. Can you come to my office this week? I make an appointment for the following day, then sit in silence trying to process this revelation. My grandmother, the woman I barely knew, the matriarch who wrote those cruel letters to my father, also saw clearly enough to protect me from the damage she helped create. She couldn't fix her son, but she could give me the resources to survive him. The next day, after signing the paperwork and watching $3 million appear in my account, I drive to my parents' house. It's the first time I've been back in over a year. My mother's car is in the driveway. I use the key I still have and find her in the kitchen looking startled and aged. Elena, I didn't know you were coming. I need to see grandmother's room. She doesn't ask why, just leads me upstairs to the guest room that used to be Eleanor's before she moved to assisted living. The furniture is the same, frozen in time. I stand in the center of the room holding my grandmother's letter, and my mother watches from the doorway. She knew, Margaret says quietly. My mother-in-law knew what I'd become, what Robert became. Robert, and she chose you. I turn to face her. We need to talk. The conversation with my mother in my grandmother's room lasts 3 hours. We don't resolve everything. Don't magically heal 35 years of damage with one afternoon of honesty. But we start. We talk about the photographs, about her secret investment, about the ways fear turned her into someone she never wanted to be. She tells me she started therapy, that she's trying to understand the patterns she repeated without examining. I tell her I need time, need boundaries, need her to prove through consistent action that she's changed. We agree to monthly phone calls. No visits yet. No grand reconciliation. Just small, careful steps towards something that might eventually resemble a functional relationship. 6 months pass. My mother keeps her word about the monthly calls. They're awkward at first, stilted conversations about safe topics like weather and resort bookings. But gradually we find our way to deeper ground. She tells me about therapy, about confronting the shame that drove her choices. I tell her about the business, about Daniel, about building a life that feels authentic. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's understanding. And understanding, I'm learning, is sometimes enough. I use my grandmother's $3 million to establish the Walsh Foundation. The mission is specific, providing grants and mentorship to women over 30 who are starting businesses after experiencing family rejection or lack of support. We fund dreamers who've been told they're too old, too impractical, too foolish to chase their visions. The foundation is named for Eleanor Walsh, the grandmother who saw clearly enough to protect me even though she couldn't fix the damage she helped create. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm honoring the woman who once disowned my father. But life is full of complicated legacies, and this feels like the right way to transform pain into purpose. Rivera Walsh Resort thrives beyond our projections. We're booked 18 months out with a waiting list that grows daily. Architectural Digest features us in their sustainability issue. Environmental organizations use us as a case study for responsible tourism. Daniel's designs are now sought after globally, and we're breaking ground on a second location in Costa Rica next spring. The success is real and sustainable, built on integrity rather than shortcuts, on vision rather than exploitation. I'm invited to speak at the Women in Business Conference in New York, a gathering of female entrepreneurs and executives. Standing on that stage in front of 2,000 women, I tell them the truth. My parents called me a failure at 35 for choosing love over status. They tore up my wedding invitation on camera and live-streamed my humiliation. Today I choose both. Love in my marriage to a man they called nobody. Status in my work, but status I earned rather than inherited or married into. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. The standing ovation lasts 3 minutes, and afterward, dozens of women approach me with their own stories of family rejection, of choosing authentic paths over approved ones, of building lives that matter despite opposition. I give each of them my card, tell them about the foundation, remind them that 35 or 45 or 55 isn't too late to become who they were meant to be. Now I'm back in the Maldives, standing on the villa balcony, where this journey reached its turning point 6 months ago. Daniel joins me as the sun sets, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. A package arrived this morning, flowers from my mother with a card that reads simply, "Proud. Finally. Mom." I don't cry when I read it. I smile instead, not the cold smile I wore like armor for so many months, but something warm and genuine, the smile of someone who's made peace with a complicated past. It took 35 years public humiliation and a viral revenge. I tell Daniel, leaning into his warmth, but I finally understand something important. I don't need their approval. I never did. Daniel kisses my temple, his arms encircling me. No seats left, remember. I laugh. Really laugh at the memory of that text message that broke the internet. For them, no. But for us, for the life we built, all the room in the world. We stand together watching the resort glow in the fading light. This place we created from nothing but vision and determination and love that refused to be diminished. The villas rise from turquoise water like promises kept. The main pavilion glows with sustainable energy. The coral reef thrives below the surface, healing and growing proof that damaged things can be restored with patience and care. Some wounds don't heal with time. They heal with distant success, and finally understanding the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. And that's where my story ends, or perhaps where it truly begins. The resort that my parents called a pipe dream now welcomes guests from around the world. The marriage they tried to destroy has become the foundation of everything I've built. The daughter they dismissed as a failure at 35 is now mentoring other women through the Walsh Foundation, helping them find the courage to choose their own paths. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, thank you. Thank you for witnessing my story, for understanding that family dynamics are complicated, that healing isn't always about forgiveness, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is build a life that doesn't require approval from people who withheld it. I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced rejection from family for choosing love over status? Have you ever been called a failure for following your dreams instead of someone else's expectations? Have you ever had to decide between keeping toxic people in your life or setting boundaries that protect your peace? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice matters. And you never know who might read your words and find the courage they needed to take that first step toward their own freedom. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that it's never too late to prove yourself right, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another story about resilience, redemption, and the power of choosing yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone in their struggle with difficult family relationships. Remember, some of us weren't born into supportive families, so we build our own. And that's not just okay. That's beautiful. Until next time, keep building your own version of paradise.